Good evening, everyone. Can I please have a motion and a second to reconvene the public meeting?
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for our servicemen and women? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the district clerk pro tem please call the roll?
Mr. Spencer. Ms. Torregrossa. Mrs. DiLorenzo.
Present.
Mrs. Napolitano-Furno.
Present.
Mrs. Mallon.
Present.
Dr. Senamore.
Present.
Mrs. Iannatelli.
Present.
Mr. Colahifar.
Aye-oh.
Mrs. Poppy.
Present.
Mr. Hauser.
Present.
Thank you, Mr. Coley, for always keeping it cheery.
Gotta be light, right?
Can I please have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the December 10, 2024 and the December 17, 2024 meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. So today we have a special recognition in our audience. We have a Scope UPK employee that was very heroic. I will let Dr. Senamore speak to it.
Thank you, Ms. Mallon. Yes, it gives me great pleasure to recognize this evening a very special employee through Scope who works over at John Pearl with our UPK program. On Tuesday, November 19th, Ms. Melissa Walsh, a TA in one of the UPK classrooms at John Pearl, dislodged a cheese stick from a UPK student's throat during lunchtime. Ms. Walsh noticed that the child was in distress and took immediate action to remove the cheese stick that was causing the child to choke. Ms. Walsh is a district resident within the John Pearl school community and a devoted member of Scope's UPK staff in the building. We are very thankful for our swift response in aiding the student. I'd like to invite Ms. Walsh up to be recognized, and a nice round of applause as well.
Ms. Walsh, thank you so much. Very, very heroic, very quick thinking. We appreciate it so much. We have some presentations tonight. We're going to start with the elementary education presentation. I will pass it to Ms. Poppy.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the elementary curriculum presentation. Tonight, we are proud to offer information to the Board of Education and to the community at large about Connecticut's approaches to elementary reading and mathematics instruction. This evening, I'm joined by our elementary principals and assistant principal, Ms. Laura Kimball, Ms. Jill Leahy, Ms. Erin Papadopoulos, Mr. Michael Renda, Ms. Sandra Rubin, Mr. Brian Wrinkle, and in spirit, Mr. John Delio and Ms. Callan Lonergan. Our Director of Mathematics, Ms. Louise Berger, and our Director of English Language Arts, Ms. Danielle Mattina, are also in attendance this evening. Thanks, everyone, for being here. In an effort to streamline our presentation, it will be facilitated by two directors, Ms. Mattina and Mrs. Berger, and two building leaders, Ms. Papadopoulos and Mr. Renda, in that order. Be assured, though, that the curricular shifts that are being discussed tonight are being implemented in all of our elementary buildings. They represent district-wide movement toward the following, and I'll direct your attention to the presentation. Identifying and meeting the learning needs of individual students that is accomplished by informed decision-making and incremental adjustments, and is reinforced through the practice of collecting data and feedback and professional support. I would be remiss if I did not mention our new elementary standards-based report card and acknowledge that the shifts in literacy and mathematics instruction that are discussed tonight are reflected in that document. While the New York State Learning Standards represent our instructional North Star, our local approach to curriculum implementation will be the focus of this presentation. Thank you to the Board of Education for your continued support as we seek to serve and support Connecticut's youngest learners in the best possible ways. Without further ado, Ms. Mattina will facilitate the overview of elementary reading and literacy instruction. Thanks, Ms. Mattina.
Good evening, everyone. I am pleased to be here this evening to share our elementary literacy initiatives with you. Beginning with the NYSTID New York State Education Department, they are providing us with guiding expectations based on the New York State P-12 Next Generation English Language Arts Learning Standards. In the 23-24 school year, NYSTID introduced the literacy briefs, which emphasize the importance of evidence-based literacy practices in P-12 education. These briefs focus specifically on reading instruction. However, I would be remiss if I didn't mention writing instruction, which is an important part of our curriculum here in Connecticut. So the literacy briefs highlighted facts and myths about the science of reading and introduced the big 6 skills and competencies of an effective reading curriculum. While NYSTID does not endorse specific programs or curricula, we have outlined the big 6 as oral language, phonological awareness, phonics, comprehension, fluency, and vocabulary. And coming up by September of 2025, NYSTID is requiring all districts to attest that they have these competencies integrated into their curriculum. I am proud to share that we are well prepared to make that attestation, and I will detail how we are addressing the big 6 in this presentation. Okay, so the science of reading, what is it? A little background knowledge. During the literacy briefs, NYSTID defined the science of reading as the following: a body of research that documents and describes how children develop their reading and writing skills. It also shows that there are effective ways to teach reading for all populations. This includes students at risk or identified with disabilities, as well as our multilingual and English language learners. It also emphasizes the importance of structured literacy instruction that develop the big 6 skills and competencies. Now, the next thing is a lot of myths out there about the science of reading, and these common myths include that the science of reading refers to one instructional approach, that it's a tangible program or curriculum. And it is clear through everything that we've learned that it's not one program. We can't buy one program that will do all of these things. So we've spent a lot of time in Connecticut looking at what that is and marrying what we already do and bringing in new programs to help us with that. The science of reading also signals that reading instruction should focus on teaching skills in isolation. That's another myth, that students don't learn in one way. We can't teach them one way or one thing. It's important that we differentiate our instruction to meet the needs of all our learners. Another myth is that the science of reading demonstrates that effective early literacy instruction is limited to promoting the acquisition of code-based skills, specifically phonics and decoding. So this myth really reminds us that our youngest learners do not learn how to simply read through phonics instruction. It's really the big 6 competencies and why they're so important. So here in Connecticut, we have our instructional architecture. And after attending the literacy briefs, Ms. Poppy and I were really encouraged by how the work our elementary curriculum committee did, and that it was all aligned to the science of reading. We came back, we felt proud, and we met with our committee again. And our goal really was to establish consistent practices rooted in the research across the district. We began by studying key research with the committee, reading the book, Shifting the Balance, to identify areas of strength and other opportunities to enhance our curriculum. This process is what led to the introduction of our instructional interventionists and our literacy consultants. We really wanted that homegrown way to make sure that we were addressing the big 6 in Connecticut. So the programs that we're currently using to make sure we're hitting on all the big 6 are our regular core ELA curriculum in K-5, which is the units of study in teaching, reading, and writing. Then our core phonics curriculum is Foundations, which we use in grades K through 3. We also supplement phonics with secret stories. I think you remember last year we showed the fun videos of our students and how much they love that. We also use Heggerty in K-2 for phonological awareness. Then when we get to grades 4 and 5, we use Morpheme Magic, which is a morphology program which teaches our students the words of the language, prefixes, suffixes, root words. And this year we're piloting a grammar program called Grammar Detectives, and it's actually something based off of the book called Patterns of Power by Jeff Anderson. And our teachers actually really wrote the curriculum this summer. We had curriculum writing, teams of teachers got together and put together a comprehensive program that we're trying in all of our schools. So far it's going really well and the feedback is great.
I could just ask a question.
Absolutely.
You have vocabulary as 4th and 5th grade. Are we also starting vocabulary earlier than that?
Yes, and I'll talk about that when I get into detail of the big 6. They do it more explicit and implicitly through read-alouds, their shared reading, in the novels that they're reading, in small group instruction. Whereas when we get to 4th grade is when we teach them how to really dive in and break apart words and understand root meanings, Latin meanings. In K through 3, Foundations touches on that and how to break apart the words. You're welcome. And in addition to all these core programs that we have to address the big 6, this year we fully implemented our small group instruction initiative in grades K through 2. This initiative ensures that all students receive daily targeted reading instruction from their classroom teacher and/or support staff, which include our reading specialists, our instructional interventionists, literacy consultants, ENL teachers, and teaching assistants. Each classroom is structured into small groups based on skills, with the students rotating through 2 groups in a 40-minute period. So for example, in one classroom, you may walk in, you'll see a group of students with the classroom teacher working on skills that they need. Another group of students will be with the reading teacher. If it's an ICT class, there'll be another group of students with another teacher. Our ENL classes have the ENL teacher, and then our teaching assistants are also. So depending on the breakdown of the class was based on how many adults would be in the room with them. Another significant enhancement is the use of decodable texts for our early readers. Decodable texts are really an essential as they provide students with meaningful opportunities to practice phonics skills in context. Each set of the decodable readers that we have here align with the scope and sequence that integrates seamlessly with our core instruction, again, which is Foundations. Please take a look at the books that Ms. Poppy gave you. That's a sample of what a decodable reader is. It's kind of probably back to what you remember learning when you were younger. They're a little more simple and they follow all the phonics rules. These are really just like training wheels. Once students understand the code of the language, once they understand the phonics rules, then they're moving into books that are more complex, that have mixed skills. And we have seen such success with these, and they really have made them much more beautiful than the simple ones when we were younger. And the success of all these initiatives would not be possible without the commitment and collaboration of all of our staff, along with the invaluable support and collaboration with our instructional interventionists and literacy consultants. These dedicated professionals ensure a smooth transition of resources from classroom teachers to everyone in the building. So no one has to navigate this process alone. There's so much new learning going on, and everyone is there to support each other. Each elementary building is supported by a resident interventionist or consultant who works closely with teachers, providing strategies, tools, and academic support. Later in the presentation, Ms. Papadopoulos will elaborate on our professional learning, our collaboration, and the support offered by our consultants and interventionists. And I want to thank the Board of Education for supporting these critical positions. So here's what the Big Six looks like in Connecticut. And shortly after this, I'm going to show you a video of it in action in all of our classrooms. So starting at the top, we have oral language. And what that looks like is conversations happening. Kids are in debates, they're in book clubs talking about what they're reading with each other. They engage in a turn and talk with a partner. And active listening is such a big part of oral language because what we hear becomes what we speak. Moving on to phonemic awareness, as I mentioned earlier, we use Heggerty in grades K to 2, and we provide interventions in grades 3 to 5 with our students that still might be struggling in that area. For phonics, we have K to 3 foundations and secret stories, and similarly, we provide interventions for students that might still be struggling with phonics deficits. For comprehension, there's so many things that we do, but our units of study and reading are really our core for that. Our teachers do read alouds all the time. There's shared reading. They teach students metacognitive strategies about how to think about what they're reading. And of course, reciprocal teaching. It's a strategy where students work together, they ask questions, they speak, they elaborate on each other's ideas. For fluency, we do a few different things. In some buildings, they do dyad reading or PALS reading, and essentially what that is buddy reading. Students sit together, they practice reading out loud to each other, giving each other constructive feedback. We also do repeated reading, because that's a great way to practice your fluency by doing it over and over. And then our students that are still struggling get fluency interventions. Moving on to vocabulary, as I mentioned, Morpheme Magic is in grades 4 and 5. Teachers in all grade levels accomplish this through read-alouds, explicitly, implicitly, in science, in social studies, in everything that they do. And of course, small group instruction is for all of these things in Connecticut.
Sorry, I have another question.
Yeah, of course.
The oral language, the debates, book clubs, turn and talks, is that through K through 5?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I love that. That's great. So-
They don't do book clubs in K to 2, but they do little like chats with their books. It's more formalized in the upper grades that our units of study have built-in book club units.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay, so now in this video, you're going to get, it's about 6 minutes long, you're going to get to see in order the Big Six in our classrooms. And I really want to thank our teachers for being so welcoming to letting us in their classrooms to film this. Thank you.
I'll say its name. And that's the new idea that we're working with today. So if we have the word hop, how do I make that O instead of saying ah? How do I make it say O, Navy? Good, you add an E at the end. That E is called Mama E sometimes, right? In Secret Stories, Mama E tells the vowel to say its name. And you also may have heard it called Magic E, right? So that E at the end has a very important job of changing the sound of the vowel.
Isaiah, it's your turn now.
Michael, you have hide.
Goldfish.
book took.
Book took.
As they rhyme, they have the book. Ready? Mess less. Less. Thumbs up, they have the same ending sound. Say human. Without the min, we just have you.
What is the prefix that we learned on Monday? Quinn.
In.
In. What was it? What were the other prefixes? There was more. In. Im. Ir. Il. What was the meaning of these four prefixes? Nicholas. Not.
So we learned today in morphing magic was like the prefix in, but like there's like other prefixes that go with it, like IR, IL, and IM, and they all mean not. It was indecipherable, inept, inactive, and insane, and you had to mark up the word for the prefix, the base word, and the suffix, and you had to write the meaning of like the base word, prefix, or suffix under it, and then you had to write 2 sentences, but I already wrote one so far.
I will ask one more, sorry. I know I'm the only one over here doing this. Are many of these new initiatives, or they've already been here and they're morphed into something new? They
we go. Sorry about that. It started about 3 years ago when I arrived in Connecticut. Ms. Poppy and I worked together with Ms. Berger, and we formed our elementary curriculum committee where we took the time with that research. We told you we started reading articles, listening to podcasts, reading the book Shifting the Balance. And at the time we had just the units of study in reading and writing, foundations for phonics, and that was our core curriculum, but we realized there were things that we wanted to enhance. So that's when the teachers came together and we worked together to bring in these other programs. We visited other school districts, we piloted things, and this is where we landed all through our elementary curriculum committee.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is great. Thank you.
Quick question, are you going to be here for the middle schools and high school when they do that presentation?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I have some questions for you for that, but I'll wait until then.
Absolutely, no problem.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now Ms. Berger will be talking about math.
Hello, everyone. So a year ago, we were here in a much different place. We were starting our implementation last year. So we are in year 2 of the Savas Envision math curriculum at our K through 5 schools. And we are grateful for the continued support and patience of our community as we transform the program that is fully aligned to the New York State Next Generation Math Learning Standards. This curriculum is anchored in problem-based teaching and learning, and thoughtfully integrates the 8 mathematical practices, including purposeful lesson routines, and ensures content pacing is both coherent and connected. At the heart of the Envision Math program, it is committed to problem-based teaching and learning. Last year, our teachers engaged in professional development to adapt this approach, which encourages students to learn through problem solving and real-world problems. As a result, we have witnessed remarkable growth in ways that we hadn't anticipated. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to flip my... There we go. Sorry about that. Back to where I was. As a result, we have witnessed a remarkable growth in ways we had not anticipated. More math discourse, that means children speaking about mathematics to one another, to the teacher. This is taking place in our classrooms. Students are increasingly more able to articulate their thinking using precise mathematical vocabulary and visual models to demonstrate their understanding. To ensure consistency across the district, we have modified and come up with common assessments. Topic assessments. These assessments are an essential tool for identifying learning gaps, both in grade level and among specific student populations. Our Savas consultant, in collaboration with a team of teachers, carefully analyzed feedback that was gathered from our faculty and the elementary curriculum committee that Ms. Mattina had mentioned prior. Based on this feedback, we made minor adjustments to the program's topic assessments. This process of review and refinement is ongoing, and we are committed to continuously gathering input to inform any necessary changes for the upcoming school year. By using these common assessments, we are able to better target areas for improvement, ensuring that the program effectively meets all the needs of the students at Connecticut. In addition to the curriculum refinements, we have developed a comprehensive professional learning plan as part of our consultant services through Savas. This plan is designed to strategically align professional development with our teaching, learning, and leadership goals. The professional learning plan is rooted in backward design, starting with the desired student learning outcomes, followed by effective teaching practices, evidence of student learning, and lastly, to support the teachers through professional learning opportunities. This year, our professional development learning goals included differentiated instruction, mathematical discourse, and conceptual understanding. By focusing on these key areas, we aim to further evidence student learning and ensure that all Connecticut students receive a well-rounded and effective math education. We look forward to continuing this journey, confident that the strategies and practices introduced through Envision Math will continue to enrich the learning experience for all of our students. As highlighted in this slide, Connecticut's instructional architecture for mathematics is designed to provide a structured and effective learning experience for our students. Our core program is Envision Mathematics in grades K through 5. It follows a consistent lesson progression that fosters both engagement and understanding. The lesson routine follows a clear and systematic progression. Step 1 is problem-based learning, the solve and share. The solve and share is an opportunity for students to show what they know and persevere through sometimes challenging problems. The purpose is to elicit the productive struggle that builds understanding by connecting prior knowledge to new ideas. Students work to solve problems on their own in small groups or in pairs. Then they discuss the solution strategies and key ideas, show their thinking, and model their work. You will see examples of the solve and share in the video that follows this slide. Step 2 is the visual learning bridge. The visual learning animation is a video used to present new concepts to students. The Convince Me activity is an opportunity for teachers to see what students gathered from the video and correct any misconceptions if necessary. Guided practice problems are meant to be teacher-led and as the students follow along. Independent practice and problem solving is a time where the teacher releases the students and allows them to practice independently. Step 3, the final step, is assess and differentiate. A quick check is approximately 3 questions done during the independent practice that allow the teacher to check in and see how students are doing with the concept introduced in the new lesson. This is a way for teachers to formatively assess students on an individual basis. That allows them to differentiate the instruction to follow, whether it be tailored in the classroom or sent home for homework. That's an opportunity for teachers to make that The fluency supplement that we use are 2 things. We use First in Math and we use Envision Mathematics. Mathematical fluency refers to the ability to quickly and accurately recall and apply math concepts. Fluency is not only about memorization, but about choosing the most effective method for solving problems in various contexts. To build fluency, teachers use Envision's built-in math fluency check-ins, and many teachers are incorporating a new program out by New York State. It is free for us to use this year. It's called First in Math. It is a gamified approach that serves as a motivating factor for some students to practice and improve on their fluency. You will see First in Math in action in the video following this slide. The small group instruction model. This year we're piloting one group at one school in a small group instruction model with the support of the math specialist. In this model, the classroom teacher introduces a mini lesson to the whole class, and then students are divided up into 4 groups, similar to what Ms. Messina was explaining in her previous small group instruction. One group works with the classroom teacher, one group works with the math specialist, one group works on iReady, My Path, which is their adaptive math program, which again, you'll hear about that later in the program. And one group practices math fluency using the First in Math program. So there are 4 groups going on at once. Takes about 15-20 minutes and a switch happens. For the students who are in need of a little bit more one-on-one time with the teacher and getting that targeted instruction, they may have 2 or 3 turns with one of the either the teacher or the math specialist. So that allows us to closely monitor our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students within the classroom setting and provide the targeted support as needed. Again, you will see a small clip in a minute. Do you have a question?
I'm sorry, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
So now that we're in year 2 of using these programs, do you see a closure in the learning gap for math? Do you hear of less complaints, like our students grasping the concepts better? Because I know in the beginning there were a lot of parents that were struggling with their understanding of the concepts, and there was a lot of tears during math homework.
I can say 365 days ago, it was a much different experience here in Connecticut for our families, for our teachers, for everyone involved. So yes, it has settled down, and we did start to see that last, I would say, entering into the springtime of last year, and really getting the lesson routines that I had spoken about. It's the solve and share, it's the visual learning, it's the assess and differentiate. So the students are anticipating what's coming next, and they feel good about that, and they know what's coming and they know what to do, along with our teaching staff and receiving the professional development, which is ongoing. And I'll speak about that in a moment. So yes, I think it is definitely all coming together. To speak about how many students are in need of math support, that fluctuates in and out.
Yeah, I also have a question. And it was similar to that, the fact that we had a lot of growing pains last year and, complaints coming in. And math on a whole, and this was one of my topics tonight on board discussions, that on a whole, our district, for some reason in math, we fall very low on Long Island. And I understand that these scores are skewed in certain ways and, who takes them and things like that. But just overall, I am so surprised every time I read them, the districts that are above us. So like Ms. Martina said, that, they went and visited other school districts, looked at different programs to see what the best fit for Connecticut is. Are we doing that on a math level? Are we making sure that, we've been struggling in math, even, last year when you presented, even up at the high school level, and our scores are so low. I understand that's not an individual thing. It's not you, it's just overall. What are we doing to make that better, fix that, start, like I said, all these parents did complain about our program in the beginning, this new, and I understand that's growing pains, but are we doing anything else? Like this free math program, how is that enhancing what we already have in place? I just want to see us grow and do better and make it easier. My own child struggles with math, and it's hard because I don't know, for all the other subjects she's doing well, and then for some reason there's a break in math. So what are we doing as a district? Like, are we visiting? Are we coming up with these new programs? What exactly is going on?
What we did do is we moved to Envision Math, and that was a big lift and a huge shift from what we did have prior to what we have now. And it's more closely aligned to the standards. With mathematics, which again, I don't know everyone's subject matter and how it progresses, but some of the stuff that the students are learning in K through 5, actually a lot of the stuff is the foundation for high school mathematics. So I just had a conversation not too long ago with Mrs. Papadopoulos and one of our 5th grade teachers about what's going on in that classroom and the methods that are being taught and the strategies that are being taught and how that transfers over to Algebra 1. So to speak. There's a lot, it takes a long time for the engine to move and for this to spiral up to see, if you're talking about Regents grades, that's going to take a while to see any kind of drastic improvement and how this change that we made at the elementary level comes to fruition.
So you're saying based on this change, you feel that in, 5, 10, whatever years, we're going to see that change when these students now from elementary are going to be taking Regents or some form of state testing, that we'll see that improvement?
Just by seeing the conversations that are happening in the classroom and the feedback we have received by the teachers, which again, you'll see some of that feedback testimonials later on. That in and of itself means there's movement here. It's not the same. It's not more of the same. It's definitely a shift in the way the teachers are instructing and the students are being engaged.
Just a little caveat real quick, and then I'll let the board continue. We're going to have the secondary presentation in a couple of weeks, so I don't want it to be misunderstood that our kids at the secondary level, we could expect lower outcomes and lower performances over the next several years, while it takes a while for our elementary students to, promote from one grade to the next. So there are certainly things being done at the secondary level with current students, middle and high school, but certainly as you implement these programs at the elementary level, this is the foundation building time.
So I gotta ask, are we gonna do anything, and I don't mean not just for math, are we gonna do anything after both of these presentations, what are we going to do to get feedback from the teachers, the parents, the students? I know that I had requested at one of the prior board meetings that I think it would be nice to have like an exit survey for our graduates. But are we doing anything in the elementary level with the parents, with the students? Are we asking, I know we asking get feedback from the teachers, but what about from the parents and students? Because at home, we don't know there might be that one or two students that doesn't want to come forward and say something, but maybe the parent, if they had a survey or some kind, is there a way to do something like that at the end of this year, especially with math, since it'll be 2 years with the program? And I have to say, I've heard nothing but good things this year from, like I said, it was from last year, something new, hard for parents. I do like that you guys are doing the extra help. I appreciated that. You added that all in, and everything that you've done to help kids, especially with Algebra 1 and 2. I know with my own children, Mrs. Berger's been exceptional with getting kids tutors, and I think that's really wonderful of you to reach out. Not everybody's done that, and I know that you go out of your way to try to make sure that if you can find a child that's a tutor, you can put them with another child. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. We could definitely bring that back to the elementary curriculum committee and formulate a survey for teachers to send home to the parents.
That would be exceptional. Thank you.
And there could be a student component to that as well.
I think that would be great, because maybe they could tell you where are they having the problem? Where are they not catching on? Maybe something that we as adults don't see.
Right. Thank you. Continuing on, we have math centers. The use of math centers is not a new concept, but this year our teachers have received professional development on how to integrate several components of the Envision Math program into their math centers. Teachers explored 6 different math supports within Envision Math that are anchored to specific topics and lessons, making it easily adaptable for classroom math centers. Our teachers were supported by our consultant in designing these centers to foster deeper understanding. Math Fact Lab is a pilot that is happening starting in February with our math specialists, with our Tier 1 and Tier 2 students in need of intervention. Math Fact Lab is an online platform designed to support math fact fluency through reasoning strategies and making a sense-making approach. The pilot
will be across all the schools?
Yes, all the math specialists will be using that with Tier 2 and 3 students. Yes. To enhance their mathematical fluency and strengthen the use of their key strategies. So it's very heavily strategy-based, so that students learn more strategies and how to increase their fluency. By focusing on these strategies, students will deepen their number sense ability and build a robust understanding of fundamental math facts, not just through rote memorization, but through conceptual understanding and application. It's that conceptual understanding that really solidifies, lifelong learning. And lastly, we have our professional development. We are deeply grateful to the Board of Education and for Ms. Poppy for supporting our partnership with Savvis Partnership Plus, our consultant, Ms. Jennifer Smith, whose expertise has been invaluable in guiding Connecticut's implementation of the Envision Math program across all 7 elementary schools. Later in this presentation, you will hear some feedback from our teachers regarding the ongoing support that we provide in mathematics and ELA. The continuous professional development and sustained growth of our teachers has had a positive impact on student achievement and their enthusiasm for mathematics. In a short time, we have witnessed significant changes in students' approaches to math, including their ability to engage in productive struggle and perseverance, which is something that we weren't seeing before. It was easily giving up. It was raising their hand immediately and not really diving into a problem and saying, I've got this, I can do this, I have tools in my tool belt to work it out. These are early signs of positive outcomes for our newly adopted math program. You will see some of our faculty in action with our consultant on the next slide in my video. There we go.
you're going to turn to the person next to you, your partner, and you're going to explain to them, what did you do to change the students' vote from whales to sharks to make sharks the favorite? Are you ready? Turn and share. Okay, what did you do? Okay, so Nolan, we had to change the students' vote from whales to sharks to make sharks the favorite. So how many votes did you change?
I changed 3 from here, and I put the 3 here, which equals the whale. I mean, the sharks have 5, the whales have 4, and then the octopus has 3.
Does that work? Yes.
I took 5 from the whales and put it to the sharks.
Okay, so let's take a step back so we could show them what you did. So, Maddie took the 5 from the whales. So octopus still have 3. She took all of that 5 and she put it with the sharks. And the sharks already had 2. And if she takes that 5 away, then the whales are just left with how many? 2.
That's what I did.
Okay?
And it shows you what money is the same, how it looks like in different forms.
This is the answer, and you have to find out which one is the answer to that problem.
I'm doing the video, and the video gives me like a rule and something to do, and after the video it gives me a game to play with that lesson that it taught me.
If we're showing adding on a number line, where should we start?
27.
Abigail, do you have any ideas?
39.
We do want to start with 39, but where should the 39 go on our number line if we're going to be adding?
Right.
Good try. If we're subtracting, we would start here so we could jump back.
Left.
We're going to start on the left.
I get confused with my left.
One so that I can start crossing out for subtraction too.
Okay, so in that video, you saw the solve and share where the students were up at the board showing off what they knew and what they, found out and shared with their classmates. You also saw some first in math. So some of those screenshots of those students who were on their individual computers, those were some of the different games that they were playing. Students can choose whatever game mode they want, and just they're competing against themselves, just trying to get better and better.
I actually had questions that I sent to Mrs. Poppy, but actually this one can go to her for this. Are there plans to introduce or expand programs for advanced learners or students in special ed or something like this? Because it seems like since there's gaming and stuff, you'd be able to, for the kids who are accelerated, is there a program to make it harder for those students and students who are in special ed? Is there a component for them?
Yes, so there are different modes that you can play within that game. So if a student maybe gets anxiety when they're doing fluency because there's a timer and it's tick, 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 and they lose it. You can actually set it to not have a timer so they can work at their own pace. And if they keep going, it keeps moving them up. So if they are accelerated and they do need a challenge, it will continue to challenge them.
That's great.
Thank you. So you saw that, and with those students talking about the games that they were playing. I want to mention the small group instruction pilot was where we had a teacher sitting at a circular desk working with the student, and then we had another teacher off into the back. I don't know if you were able to see it. The students were on the carpet. So that pilot is taking place in a second grade classroom at Boston this year. We're trying it out. We're seeing how it's working, and we're making adjustments to it.
Yeah, so I have a question about that. Because I really like that. You said that they receive the lesson, then they go into the small groups and they rotate every 15 to 20 minutes. Is this one class getting a longer period of math instruction than the other classes?
No.
So it's the same amount of time, it's just broken up differently?
It's broken up differently.
Okay.
Okay, and the final thing that you saw on that slide was our Savvis consultant, and the teachers were actually doing what the students should be doing, and she was acting as the teacher. So they had an opportunity to see how their students could experience some of the pieces of the Envision program. If there are no further questions, I will turn it over to Mrs. Papadopoulos. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak today about our commitment to supporting the educators who make such a positive impact on our students' lives. We believe in providing our educators with the tools and resources they need to support student success. This includes regular on-site coaching and professional learning opportunities. Our dedicated literacy consultants and interventionists play a crucial role in this process, offering consistent support across grade levels. Each elementary school has a dedicated interventionist who works directly with the teachers. These specialists help ensure district-wide consistency in instructional strategies and assisting teachers in implementing these effective interventions. Additionally, each school has access to our contracted Savvis consultant, Jennifer Smith, who provides grade level and individual support to enhance the implementation of our mathematics program. Having an expert on hand has truly enhanced our teachers' ability to navigate the curriculum and meet the needs of all learners. Teacher support also comes through collaboration. We know that great teaching is enhanced when other educators have the opportunity to learn from one another. It is for this reason we regularly schedule meeting times for grade levels and content areas to come together, share insights, and discuss student progress, fostering a team-based environment where teachers can grow together. Equally important is our approach to data. We understand that academic data is a powerful tool in understanding where students are currently working and where they need to go next. In Connecticut, we value sustainable and transparent data use practices, which is why we use AimsWeb and iReady to track student progress in reading and math, allowing us to set meaningful short-term and long-term goals that align with national norms. In addition to further supporting student success, we implement consistent academic screenings to monitor each student's growth. Our teachers utilize tools such as the phonics screeners, AimsWeb, benchmarks, and progress monitoring to make data-driven decisions, ensuring that every student reaches their fullest potential. Mr. Renda will go into more detail about our specific screening practices. Teaching assistants also play an essential role in the classroom. They provide additional support by collecting data, assisting with lesson preparation, reteaching key strategies, and supporting individual student needs. Lastly, feedback is another essential part of growth. Throughout the year, we hold primary and intermediate curriculum committee meetings where teachers can provide valuable feedback, share experiences, and suggest improvements. Recently, we gathered additional feedback from teachers through Google Forms, ensuring that every teacher's voice is heard and valued. We are deeply committed to supporting our teachers in every way possible. Through on-site coaching, collaboration opportunities, sustainable data practices, and curriculum feedback, we are building an environment where our educators can grow, innovate, and excel. Posted are a few of our teacher testimonials about our professional development opportunities and support provided. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm excited to talk with you a little bit about assessments within our district. So in tandem with Connecticut's curated academic curriculum is a system of assessments utilized to monitor student progress and growth. This system supports data-driven instruction in which teachers tailor their instruction based on the needs of students in their classroom. One of our major assessment programs is a learning program called iReady, and iReady serves a dual purpose. So it serves as a universal screener or diagnostic in which students are placed, and it gives us data on their placement. So they're the grade level and either early, mid, or late grade level. And then it also provides growth, so we can track their academic growth throughout the year. Additionally, we use iReady as a learning program in which students spend about 30 minutes a week, both in ELA and math, and they have a dedicated MyPath. So it takes the diagnostic, it targets where they need support and provides programs both in ELA and math to help with the foundational skills. In addition to our iReady programming, we have K-2 screeners. Ms. Papadopoulos mentioned a couple of them. So we use AimsWeb, which targets assessments on letter sound assessments, a core phonics screener, phonological awareness, and more. And then there's various progress monitoring assessments, both in ELA and math, to help support student growth. Over the next several slides, we're going to focus a little bit on a data sampling from iReady, so you can actually take a look at what the data looks like. And I'm going to generally walk you through how teachers and administrators use that data to drive instruction. We're actually going to view the data at the student level and then zoom out. We'll take a look at the classroom, the school, and then the district. So if you take a look at the data on the left, we're looking at an individual student, and we can see that there's 3 diagnostics throughout the year that they've participated in. And that data is going to show us the overall placement for each of the diagnostics. We're going to also see growth over time. In this example, we can see that students have made a little over a year's worth of growth. And in this example, we can see that we are closing gaps within the student learning. This is also a math example, so you'll see where it says Spanish. because for Math iReady, we can actually have students who might be in our E&L program take the exam in math. However, in ELA, that's not offered because we are testing reading.
And this was a fifth grade student, yes?
This is likely a fifth grade student. So this is a data sampling. It's not a sample from any of our students in particular, but it's just samples that were provided to us. If we take a look at the example on the right, so that is taking a look at data class-wide. And this data is useful when we're looking at a class. Teachers might use this to help create groups for small group instruction in the class. On the next slide, we're taking a look at data through iReady at the school level. And we can see a comparison from Diagnostic 1 compared to Diagnostic 2. And we can see growth between the two diagnostics. And if you take a look further down, it breaks down the data by grade. So we can even dive a little deeper and take a look at the growth and the placement by grade. And then from a district level, we can take a look at data through overall placement for a district between diagnostics. So in this sample, we're comparing Diagnostic 2 to Diagnostic 1. And we can see overall growth that is taking place, as well as student placement, the number of student, and percentages. And this is helpful as a district. We could talk about the data. We can analyze that data and think about what are our next steps. Is there a certain grade? Is there a certain school that might need additional support, where we might want to utilize our literacy consultants? We might want to collaborate with other schools or other classrooms where we're seeing success, or really think about what are those foundational skills that we need to further look at and support students.
Is everyone elementary students? Are we using this in secondary or just in? We are, okay.
Thank you so much for your time. And now, Ms. Poppy, to finish out our presentation.
That's a lot of learning on so many levels. And so to close our presentation, I wanted to share with the board sort of where we see ourselves going. Primarily short term, but there are some long-term efforts embedded within this slide. So first, we're currently beginning some heavy work in integrating science and social studies topics into literacy instruction. Some of this progress is natural, based upon, for instance, the units of study and what our teachers are already engaging in with our students. And some of it requires a closer look and some brainstorming about how we can work efficiently to include different subject areas in our literacy instruction. So we're hitting different notes with that same particular approach. We will continue to vertically articulate these shifts in ELA and mathematics to grade 6. And this effort has already started both through our elementary curriculum committee, through the intermediate group, inviting our grade 6 teachers to participate and listen in on committee meetings, as well as working on universal topic assessments in mathematics in grade 6. That's an ongoing effort this year. We have a number of proposed summer curriculum writing projects that support, in particular, those two efforts and more. We are seeking and enjoying continued professional support by our literacy consultants and our SAVIS consultant in both subject areas. We're continuing every day to develop strategies and to think outside of the box to support small group instruction in order to provide targeted interventions in ELA and mathematics. Sometimes what that boils down to is personnel, right? And that's part of the equation here to make things happen. And I think you heard that in both Ms. Matina and Ms. Berger's presentations, right? With those small group, that center work inside of our classrooms, and how we're allowing that and facilitating that within the lessons. And of course, our continued iReady data review and professional goal setting based upon that data. So we are in year 1 of using iReady in mathematics, K through 5. We made a switch from the Savvis product this year in order to align with iReady use in ELA, K through 5. We actually do use the product in our secondary buildings as well, in the middle schools in grades 6 through 8, just to kind of reach back to your question, Mrs. Inatelli. And so that is an ongoing process. iReady gives a lot of information. Mr. Renda touched upon a bit of it, but when you boil down and you drill down into the classroom, there are a number of different opportunities for teachers, and we're continuing to learn about the capabilities of the platform and monitoring student growth through the platform. If the board has any questions at this time, I'm happy to address them before I just give one more closing remark.
So most of the questions you were right, they hit on, and so they answered for you. The ones that I sent you yesterday?
Yes.
There is one, though, that it might not fall within what they brought up. It was are there any new initiatives to promote STEM or vocational education?
So I think the STEM piece is kind of captured a bit on this slide. And, maybe the next time we come around to a curriculum presentation, we can hone in more closely on STEM in the elementary setting. And I think, we can certainly devote some time to talking specifics about how that happens. It does occur through essentially our Enrichment for All program in all of our elementary buildings. So we would need to devote a little more time to that. But certainly, by integrating the science piece into the literacy block and finding ways to efficiently carry out that type of instruction is an effort that we're engaged in right now, and we're looking to continue into the summer with curriculum writing.
Thank you.
The vocational piece we'll talk about when we have the secondary presentation.
That's what I kind of figured. I figured that was a little bit higher up.
Yes.
But I always say that it is nice to start young, because the kids going into secondary should know that what's ahead of them if they want to get into that vocational educational piece, because not every student really knows about it. I know a lot of people, when we get to secondary, say a lot of their children, we touch on it, but we don't really, I don't feel like we push it as much as we should. I always say to you, like and with BOCES and with a lot of other stuff, there's so many programs out there, and I wish students knew, because when they graduate, they come back and say, some of these programs I would have loved to be a part of. I would have loved to be involved in. I even want to still go to Nassau. I was telling you guys, and look at the art school that I spoke to them. I had spoken to the people in charge over there, the administration, and they were very, they were offering us to come. It's something, all of these things are wonderful for secondary, but it'd be nice to see a piece of it for the elementary, to see what goes on in the secondary. Something maybe for them to say, hey, when you go into secondary, like a 5th grader, look, this is what you guys are going to have. 6th grader, look, this is what you're going to have once you get to the high school. It's a nice piece something for them to work towards.
Absolutely. So I think we even started to engage that work. I know that you're talking about bringing it even further, even addressing a younger audience through our elementary buildings. And that's something we can continue to build on for sure. Absolutely. Brainstorming ideas about how to accomplish that is certainly within our wheelhouse. Just to close, I wanted to take a moment to thank not only, we have an additional question?
I believe Ms. DiLorenzo.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Just building off of what Jackie had said, I did notice, because as the presentation was going on, everything that you brought up, I was looking at it to see it. First in math, it looks like they do have a STEM piece. Are we using that for the? Because it looks, I mean, when I see it, it says, building the M in STEM with first in math. And I see that in there. I don't know if that's something that can be brought in for the STEM, because I agree. I do that at work all the time. STEM is my thing, and STEAM I call it too. I incorporate art, but it is definitely important, and I do see that on the First in Math website. So it's just something, I don't know if we were doing that, but I did see it on there.
We're certainly getting started with First in Math, so we'll take some time to explore the possibilities and the connections it may have to our other curricular areas, for sure. Again, I just wanted to take a moment to thank, we've given a lot of credit to the adults, for sure, in this process. I'm so very proud of the learning that's taken place at the elementary, obviously not only for our students, but our faculty has literally transformed within a very short period of time. A few years ago, I'm thinking it was at this point about 9 or 10, I stood at this podium and I asked the Board of Education at that time for their support to roll into the units of study in teaching, reading, and writing. And look at how far we've come since then. It's a true testament to the work of our faculty, and I would be remiss if I didn't speak to the work of our building administrators who are joining me this evening. I'm so very proud of their learning. They teach me on a daily basis. And of course, our curriculum directors who are supporting this work every step of the way. This is absolutely transformative, and it's wonderful to feel a reassurance that in so many ways we're ahead of the curve here. And I think if there's nothing that you take from this presentation, I'm hopeful that that kind of remains in your mindset, that the state is now providing us with very specific guidance in terms of guidelines that need to be addressed and met. And we are doing them with a level of confidence here and competency that is remarkable. So thank you to everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening, and looking forward to speaking about our secondary buildings in 2 weeks.
Thank you. And thank you to your team for putting this together and sharing all the information with us. Thank you so much to everyone. Dr. Senamore has something real quick, succinct, because this was very robust.
And succinct. Thank you to our principals, assistant principal, directors, Ms. Poppy, a very comprehensive presentation. I got to pop in on some of their planning sessions. The first day back from break, Ms. Poppy had them gathered first thing in the morning, to work on this. The bread and butter of a school district is student learning, teacher instruction, and it's great to be able to take time in a board meeting. I appreciate this investment tonight, 2 weeks from tonight with the secondary. A lot of great work being done. I love the fact that we're getting teacher input, teacher empowerment. There are people in the trenches, the outreach to parents. We do get parent feedback through various committees, such as the district-wide curriculum committee, which is critical. And, having visited many classrooms and will continue to visit many classrooms to come, just seeing our kids in action. I've seen them doing STEM work as well at the elementary level, fabulous, and seeing the small group instruction, and very proud of our staff, like you just said, open mindsets and what they've been willing to do. Very proud of our kids and everyone, and things like the secret stories are a lot of fun, and the grammar detectives, these are things that we did, the hook that engage our kids, and the staff have a good time with it. So just a great job by everybody. The data collection is a critical piece because it tells us what's going great. It says, we got something here that we have to identify. It informs our practice. Kudos to all, and thank you for a great job tonight.
Now, Mr. Hauser, we have a budget presentation followed a review of the 2025-26 budget process, followed by the firefighter, ambulance worker tax exemption, and the senior citizen disabled persons tax exemption.
Bob, do you have any music or kids doing fun things in your presentation?
This is everybody's favorite presentation.
This will be exciting. Robust and succinct. Okay. So for tonight, it's really the kickoff, I'll say, of the budget season. For the next 90 days or so, and I'll show you on the calendar, it'll be fairly intense as we navigate the 2025-26 budget. But I just want to give you an overview here of the process, what we're going to be addressing over the next 90 days. So the topic is fiscal climate. And the first item I want to do is just take a look at the calendar, if we could. So, and once again, as I always do, this presentation will be posted on the district's website by tomorrow morning. So early in January, we started with the budget development guidelines. We started meeting with the different school building administrators, as well as the directors of the departments, to try to get their budgets, at least their initial drafts. We're still doing that right now. I believe we're finishing up this week. And then as you can see on the third line, or hopefully you can see this, it's small, the third item is today's presentation. So I don't want to necessarily go through every single line here, but it's just a quick summary budget calendar wise of where we're going to go over the course of the next 90 days. And then the finale will be May 20th with the budget vote and the school board election as well. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so over the years, I believe this could be the 14th year, we've been up against the tax cap, what's commonly, although it's a misconception, known as the 2% tax cap. There's a couple of factors that go into that number, and one of them is called the tax base growth factor. So we were given our number on the bottom left of the screen. I highlighted this factor that's going to go into our quote-unquote 2% number. There's also another number that we'll be looking for. Next slide, please. So this is another screen that shows the relationship of inflation over the years to that second number, which is called the allowable levy growth factor. Once again, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here, but all the way to the far right, really starting in 2023, 24, and 25, this is a good summary of how inflation has exceeded, that consumer price index inflation has exceeded the 2% tax cap. So this is what's really highlighting the difficulty in doing a school budget when we're up against a cap, and yet so many of the products and services that we need to operate the school are in excess of the 2% number. Next slide, please. This is just a preliminary estimate. It comes from the New York Council of School Superintendents. I believe we received this either in late November, here, November 15th on the bottom right. So it's very early in the stages, but this gives a snapshot of what the Council of School Superintendents back in November felt our state aid, the revenue we get from the state, what their projection is going to be.
Thanks, Bob. I'm going to interject quickly. So what you're seeing there is likely to be a level foundation aid component. Last year, we were hearing out of Albany, the governor's office, the likelihood of cuts, reductions to our foundation aid. Foundation aid is the largest percentage of aid based on formula. You've been hearing a lot of how they're reviewing the formula. What we're hearing now out of Albany, I know the governor was doing her state of the state address, and the aid projection runs will now start, in terms of her executive proposal. We're hearing that we're not likely to get a foundation aid cut, but we're also not hearing that we're likely to get a foundation aid increase, and that's challenging. I'll use the word challenging for right now because costs go up. And so there are other categories of aid where we may see an increase. Those are the, I'll say expense-based aids, where we spend money and we get, and based on what you spend, you get a % back the following year. So due to capital projects, maybe some other things, we're expecting somewhat of an increase in that factor. But again, you got to spend in order to get, whereas the foundation aid is really what we're, and there's been a lot of advocacy. Thank you to this Board of Education with that focus. A lot of advocacy. Thank you to our local elected officials. I know a lot of our associations have been very involved with advocacy. And so the advocacy push is not just to not see a cut in foundation aid, but also to see, somewhat of an increase, even modestly. Thank you, Bob. Please continue.
You're welcome. So as Dr. Senimore said, right now we're not sure what the governor's executive proposal is going to be on state aid. We should know by, I'll say, January 31st. In about 2 weeks, she should release her preliminary estimate on state aid. And then that's subject to a final adoption, I'll say, by the state legislature, the Senate and the Assembly sometime around March or early April. So there's a lot of unknowns right now in terms of revenue, but what we are doing right now is working on the expenses, compiling all that data, and we'll start having our meetings to determine where we stand with that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Have we looked into any contingency plans in place to address the possible or potential shortfalls if we don't receive the aid that do we already know what we're going to be looking at?
No, that is part of the budget process. So as we, I'll say, compile this budget information from the school buildings, the departments, the district as a whole, and we take a look at that in relation to what the state aid and other revenue sources are going to be. That's more or less how we're going to build this contingency plan, or that what-if scenario.
Well, I was just asking because of last year. We already know where we had to pull from last year, and we already know what we were able to put back. I wasn't sure if we were going to zone in on the same things this year or if there were going to be different ideas.
So let me chime in. So as we go through this budget development process, we're doing a needs assessment. What do our students need? That obviously, student needs are met by people. So what are, the vast majority of a budget, 70%, give or take a percentage, is going to be your staff, your salaries and benefits. All staff, all levels, instructional, administrative, support staff. So what are our staffing needs to address our student needs? Then, like last year, you look at what is the turnover, meaning attrition? What does attrition mean? Retirements, resignations, and you look to see those where you could take advantage of that. Even in terms of, when you look at retirements, even if you have to replace, or resignations, and you have to replace the position, take advantage of that, what's called breakage, and somebody may be leaving at a higher salary as opposed to somebody at an entry level, salary. Enrollment factors in terms of the programs, and then there are certain programs in general that we'll take a look at. So it's a little early, in terms of saying that we have a potential fiscal crisis. It's concerning if you don't get an aid increase because costs increase, but we have to see other factors. What are going to be the increases in pension costs? What are going to be the increases in insurances of all kind, including employee benefit insurance? What are interest rates going to be? Shortly after the budget process was finalized last year, we realized some interest savings, which was very helpful. So all these things factor in, and we'll certainly be bringing lots of this information in upcoming workshops to the board, to the community, and we can see where revenues meet expenditures, and if there's any shortfall, district has also utilized reserves. What's the appropriate amount of reserves that we want to allocate? We've been fortunate that at the end of the closing of books, we're able to recoup some of it, not all of it, and put it back into various reserve categories and fund balance. So, I'll say in layman's terms, the savings account. So soup to nuts, A to Z, these are all the things that we're going to need to look at as an administration, certainly as we work with our building and departmental people throughout the process, and then when we bring things forward to the Board of Education and the public.
If you guys could just answer these two at the next board meeting, for the BOCES aid, have it, because I would really like to know these. Given the projected decreases in BOCES aid and public excess cost aid, how will this impact our key programs and services? That's a big one. I really need, I don't want to see programs touched that are flourishing. We do have some that we should reevaluate, but they're the ones that are, we shouldn't be touching them. And what are the efforts to negotiate or advocate for adjustments in these areas to minimize the impact on the district? Last year I had asked for this to be done, and it wasn't done as efficiently as I thought it should, only because we ended up accessing and then bringing the people back. So, which is great that we were able to do that, but we still caused anxiety, stress, and many other things that this year I would hope we can steer clear from. So if we could just look into these things in advance, maybe we would be able to see what we can cut. If we needed to bring something back, really it should be something where if we can get an adjustment beforehand, we can save jobs and we can save also programs.
Can we, Ms. Cirillo, have those two added to discussion updates for board discussions for the next meeting?
Okay.
I have a question. Would we be able to, as you're developing the budget, you're working on this, can the board receive the budget in Excel form? I know it's a huge file, but it is, I know for me, it's so much easier to view the budget, sort, to find what I need to find so I can look it over if it's in Excel format, if that's possible.
Yep, and the master file is in Excel, so we have it readily available.
Perfect, I love Excel. Perfect, thank you.
Cool. And that's all I have for that one presentation.
Does anybody have any other questions for Mr. Hauser?
I had sent you some questions. These two are part of those questions. Just look into them for next meeting, and if we can use them for next meeting, because they're all budget questions, but I know I only sent them late last night. Thank you.
All right, so I'll just keep going. So this is a presentation, a very, very brief presentation on two topics here, two exemptions that the town of Islip has recently provided us with an update. One of those exemptions is called, the new exemption I'll say, is called the statewide volunteer firefighter and also the volunteer ambulance worker exemption. So I'll have a slide just to start the discussion on that. And then the second topic we're going to speak about is the income options and increasing the maximum eligibility limits for low-income senior citizens as well as disabled persons. Next slide. Okay, so there's a lot of information here. I'm only giving one brief slide on this just to start the conversation because this new statewide volunteer firefighter and volunteer ambulance worker exemption, for the most part, it has already been in place, just not on what's called a statewide level. The school district, Connecticut School District, has actually adopted in prior years an exemption for the volunteer firefighters and the volunteer ambulance workers who have been volunteers in the fire districts that serve the Connecticut area for a minimum of 5 years. There are other requirements to get that exemption. One of them is you must own your own home in in the Connecticut School District, and it must be your primary residence. So the board now, I'll say, is being asked to consider adopting this new statewide exemption, which would go from a minimum of 5 years being a volunteer firefighter, a volunteer ambulance worker, down to a minimum of 2 years. And there's flexibility in there the board can adopt to extend this exemption to a volunteer firefighter who's been with the fire department for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, up to 5. The town of Islip also had to adopt this, and they brought it down to 2 years. So the process here is, I'll say, a more of a formal process. The board, if the board decides to go with the lower years, there has to be a public hearing, which I believe we're going to try to do at the next board meeting. And then if the board decides to adopt that, there's a formal resolution that has to be passed by the board. And then there's a whole formal certification process for any eligible volunteer firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker to prove to the school district that they do in fact live in the district, they do in fact own their home, and that their home, I believe, is used 100% as a primary residence. Now that's the next one. So before I go on to that second one, that senior citizen disabled person, does anyone on the board have a question about this? Volunteer firefighter, volunteer ambulance
Not really so much a question as a statement. In all the years that I've worked with volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers, they have such a tough job. And I'm glad that the town of Islip brought it down to 2 years. I'd like to see us do the same thing. It's very hard to get people to volunteer these days and to retain them. These are people who are coming to your home. At the worst times, they are running into danger while we are running out. They are coming there to save lives. It's a no-brainer. I understand that we have to look at the finances, and I get that. But we also have to look at that these people are volunteering for something that we all are at home while they are volunteering and doing this tough job. They're not being paid to do it. They are doing this like we volunteer as board members and are elected. It's time consuming, and we do need to realize the factor that, while it's time consuming to be a board member per se, they are being put in the line of fire. They are being put in danger, and we really should respect the job that they do, be thankful for the job that they do, and bringing it down to 2 years, if that means that more people will volunteer, because I know that that's been an issue across Long Island with getting volunteers and keeping them. I think it's something we need to really remember when we vote on this. You don't want to make it so it's 5 years and we can't get people to volunteer in the neighborhood. You know, we talk about enticing people to come to Connecticut to work. We want people to come to Connecticut and live, and we want people to volunteer and continue to do the great job they're doing to save lives, to come and help us in our time of need. Honestly, I think it's a no-brainer. I like what Islip Town did, and I would be willing to do the same thing.
Yeah, and I agree with everything that you were saying, because I absolutely 100%. On the financial aspect, I just wanted to ask you if part of the information we're going to receive, just so I understand all of how this all works, the taxes, whatever is exempted, is going to be absorbed by everybody else. Is that how this, just to make sure that I have an understanding of how that works?
Yeah, so it's up to 10% of the assessed value. I want to be careful how I talk in these terms here, because assessed value is one thing, your actual tax bill, the taxes you pay are another thing. So this is up to a 10% exemption for the volunteers here. So, and yes, if they're not necessarily paying, taxes on that 10% of their assessed value, that would get shifted to the other taxpayers.
So my question was similar to Ms. DiLorenzo's, because I know we've gotten complaints that people's taxes have gone up, but this is mainly in part due to these exemptions that have been given out, correct?
This is, A lot of this information the assessor provides, the town of Islip assessor, and I will provide more information, especially at the hearing if we decide to go do that at the next meeting. But just to give you an idea, so for the current tax bills that just went out, in the town, so this is just the town of Islip, okay, not necessarily our school district. They only granted 167 volunteer firefighter and volunteer ambulance worker exemptions throughout the whole town. So,
What about the senior citizens and the disability exemptions? Because I think those should apply as well.
yep, and I'll get into that when I get to that next one. So, remember that someone has to own their own home, and it has to be their primary residence, in order to qualify here. So, even though the emphasis here is on assisting the fire departments with recruitment and retention of firefighters, you're hoping that people who, let's say, are younger and are volunteers actually own their own homes. They wouldn't qualify if they lived with their parents. So it doesn't appear that the exemption is as vast as you might think it is.
And you have to apply.
Correct.
It's not just granted.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Any other questions on the volunteer firefighter one? Okay, let's go over to the senior citizen. So this is, low-income senior citizen and also disabled persons exemption. So this actually exists right now as we speak. This slide up here says that the Connecticut School District is currently at a maximum income eligibility limit of $29,000 for a 50% exemption. Okay, and that goes along a scale up to $37,400. That's both for the senior citizen and the disabled person. However, the town of Islip, I'll say in the last year, they decided to increase the town tax exemption, the income up to $50,000. So for those board members who were here when we had the town assessor about a year ago or so, this is very complicated. And at the time, they were not able to, and they're still not able to give us detailed information as to how that tax shift would affect the tax base here. So the town, for the most part, is just giving us an update that this exemption is still available, and that the school district in particular, if they choose to do so, if the board chooses to do so, has the ability to raise that exemption, keeping in mind that if the exemption goes up, the taxes that would have been paid get shifted to other taxpayers. Yeah.
Yes, but we also want our senior citizens and disabled people to be able to still live here.
Yeah.
And if we're being realistic here, these days, even with people's pensions, 29,000 is a low number. And since it hasn't gone up, it makes sense what the town of Islip is doing. It sounds like they're trying to help keep these people in their homes and keep them, and I understand that means we would have to absorb something. But that's where we really need to find out how much would we really need to absorb, because like you said, if our house is worth $500,000 or $600,000, but your assessed value is some ridiculous number, which I was like 29,000 or 40,000. I remember looking at it and I was like, it's a totally different number. We're not looking at our taxes going up so much. So that's the question, is if we're talking about pennies on the dollar to keep our senior citizens and disabled people in their homes, and also to keep our fire department funded with, and also the retention and the recruitment, these are things that we need to really look at, where we're saving money and where we're hurting our community as a whole.
Yeah. And just to put it in perspective, and I'll have that information available for the next meeting, especially if we do the hearing. So this is coming from the town assessor's office. And it said, should the school board wish to increase the maximum income eligibility limits to be in sync, I'll say, with the town of Islip's limit, this will result in an estimated additional 226 senior citizen exemptions, okay? And it's going to shift about $4 million in the assessed value, we're well over 600 million is the total assessed value for our school district. And it will also add an additional 5 disabled persons exemptions. So just to give you an idea of the number of people that could be affected if the board decides to go in that direction. But I'll have more specific dollar information for you. Okay.
For this particular one, like the firefighter one, do they have to apply or is it automatic?
That's a good question. I don't believe they have to apply through the school. This is something that they would apply through the town because there's certain, bless you, there's certain incomes that can be exempt, so they have to prove that to the town. So I believe it's the town. I'll verify that administers it all. This is just another slide to add some more information. This one actually says the 226 senior citizens, the additional ones, and the additional 5 disabled persons. Is that the last? Mm-hmm. Okay. So any other questions? All right. So as I speak right now, for the next board meeting, is that January 28th? 28th, we would schedule a public hearing to discuss this. All right. And then if the board is so inclined to do so, after that public hearing, we would actually have a resolution that the board would approve. Okay. I think it's a good question too. Two separate hearings. That would be the same night we could do, right? Okay. Yep. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hauser.
You're welcome.
Student government.
Hi, I'm Michaela, one of the Board of Ed reps from the high school, back again for the new year. This is Tom, another Board of Ed rep from the high school. To start off, the seniors are preparing for their trip on February 2nd. All of the last minute details are being taken care of, but the trip should be a pretty fun time. Thank you for your time. I will now pass it over to Tom, who will discuss our Valentine's Day plans.
For Valentine's, we have a lot planned. Coincidentally, PSA Love You Day and Valentine's Day falls on the same day, so we are elevating our Valentine's Day celebration and mixing it in with PSA Love You Day. So our goal is to decorate our school in red, pink, and purple PSA Love You Day colors to really promote the PSA Love You Day meaning and the true meaning behind the whole day. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Do we have anyone here from Orba, Scepter, or PTA Council? Okay. I will now open the floor for the first open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a number card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. The use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend the time. Number 1. You all could have told me there was nobody. Ed, the floor is yours. Oh, you have to go up to the podium so people at home can hear you. Take your time, take your time.
Our teachers have always been great, and now that they have tools that they never had before. I don't know if the children still have to put numbers in boxes. I never understood that. But April mentioned something, that people look in the newspaper and they see the scores. And of course, you don't like the scores that you see from Connecticut. Those aren't real. That's fuzzy math because of the opt-out. What we have to do is discourage this opt-out. We know why it's there. Discourage the opt-out so we get some real numbers. Our kids are great, believe me. They were dealt a terrible blow doing COVID. I don't know how they learned at home. That's a miracle in itself, right? So let's try and do something about the opt-out so we get real numbers. And basically, I'm a product of public schools all through, and I'm amazed at what I could do today and what I did during the careers that I worked, because I had some very, very good teachers that weren't paid years ago what they're paid today. The only thing that I worry about now is foundation aid, and you can't take money out of fund balance forever, because someplace down the line, maybe 10 years, there'll be no fund balance. So, and what you cut, only God knows. I hope we don't have to cut. I hope the state realizes what school districts are in. And the other problem, which I know we don't talk about, but it's back there about this electric bus nonsense. So let's see what someone decides about that. I don't know. That's worrisome too. That's worrisome too. I won't go into that. Over.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Financial matters. Can I please have a motion and a second to approve financial matter items 2 through 7?
Motion. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I please call for a motion and a second to approve the instructional personnel items as presented?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Did you pull?
I'm just doing instructional right now.
Okay. Aye.
Aye. Can I please have a motion and a second to approve non-instructional personnel items as amended with number 37 pulled for a separate vote?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Can I please call for a motion and a second to approve the non-instructional item, personnel item number 37?
Motion. Second.
I'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Iannatelli.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes. Ms. Napolitano-Ferno.
I'm a no.
Ms. DiLorenzo.
No.
Ms. Torregrossa.
Yes.
Well, everybody, I would like to take the moment to congratulate and introduce our new district clerk, Ms. Ari McCarthy. Welcome. Look forward to working with you. Can I call for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 2 through 10? We have pulled items number 11 and 12 for separate votes.
Motion. Second.
Any questions on 2 through 10? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Can I please call for a motion and a second to approve item number 11?
Motion. Second.
Any questions?
Yes. Do you want me to start? I'm just gonna say that I don't know what goes on in this district when we hire people, and I know I put that in, that you could actually cross out hiring practices, because that's what it is, in board discussions. So I looked into this author, and it's frightening what you can find on social media platforms. We saw what happened in another district when they didn't do the searching and the investigating, and what came out all over the news, and how frightening that is. Now, thanks to Jackie DiLorenzo, I want to say thank you, because you are incredible at finding things. This person is anti-police, BLM, tattoos all over their face, hate and activism. It's clear cut. There's not even a question. I will gladly show you all the pictures. It's actually scary that this district would pay $2,000 to bring that kind of hate in our front door. People have said to me for many years, be careful what you put out there on all these social media platforms, because someday it can come and bite you. That's the problem. I don't think people pay attention. Now, I'm just going to show you one picture because I just can't believe that this is what we're going to we're going to bring this person in to speak to our children. I can tell you, as a parent in this district, this person is not speaking to my children. I don't know what the ages are, but my kids will be pulled that day because we talk about not spending money. This is what we're spending money on. Somebody who has BLM written across their face, somebody who talks about the police and democracy, these are not fake, these are I don't care if it's real or not. If you're writing on your face and you're talking about listen, hate groups, that's what we're bringing in. Hate groups. Are we kidding? Are we kidding? This is what this person is putting all over social media.
I think April's question
arrest the cops.
Did somebody
who killed this one and that one?
Her page.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, understand that this kind of stuff here, Black Lives Matter all over the place. This is an activist. There should not be a children's author activist coming into our district and us paying them $2,000. No way. I'm an absolute no.
I'd like to piggyback off of that, because I was the one who
turned yours on so hers can.
Yes, and I appreciate all the work you do. People have no idea that the investigating you do.
Yeah, when I looked into this, especially given what we did see in the other district, which was really frightening, I did find, and I do see that this person has one children's book, which compared to this is for the literacy celebration, I believe in April, compared to the author that we had last year, he had, I don't even know, it was over 100 books. He had such a rich history and background as an author of children's or young adult novels. This person is an actress. Her social media, everything is filled with, she's an actress from, I forget which show,
NCIS. So that was my issue with this author, was that she wasn't actually an author, right? I mean, she wrote a book, but my colleague at work wrote a book too.
Yeah, and that was my thing. I looked at this and I said, one book, it's an adorable book. I looked at it, it's a very cute book, but it's one book, and her entire social media is filled with either her acting and directing, which great, you did well, you're successful there, and activism, massive activism. I can't possibly imagine what she could bring to our students at the literacy celebration that celebrates reading and literacy when she has one book. So I am also an absolute no for this person.
So, I like to stay consistent, and how I am about free. So in the sense of free, we have many authors throughout the year that they use this to sell their book. They bring their books, you can buy their books, they sign their books. I'm really not understanding why we're trying on this new path of, paying these authors to come. In the past, there were several authors that we did not pay because, again, it promotes their books. Are we trying to follow those same avenues to bring in authors that want to promote their book? Be here for the sense of that and promoting, the fact that you're reading and things that I really don't understand why we don't do free.
The last question too is who has actually found this person? Is this who puts this forward? Is this the director? Is this the teachers? Is this who found this person and put this before the board?
So typically, and I can speak to this because of my own history in the district in terms of supervising. So the literacy celebration is hosted annually by our district library media specialists. And what happens annually is that the library media specialists come together and they talk about either a theme for the upcoming literacy celebration, or they talk about a promotional aspect that's going to kind of lead the way for the celebration. So to your point, last year, we were able to arrange a visit by Gordon Corman, who is a nationally acclaimed author. He wrote a number of books and he gave a book talk. And that went over very well. In years past, we've always, in my recollection, have paid, or in my experience, maybe prior to me, we did some things that were free. However, we've had puppet shows and we've paid for those through the Arts and Education Funds, through BOCES. We've offered other types of presenters. We had an artist one year, an illustrator kind of come in and work with students on storytelling through illustration, and we paid for that individual through that same Arts and Education Fund. I do believe that this author has a connection to one of our library media specialists. I know that locally, this particular person has done presentations to school-aged children about her book. And the book is the highlight and the book is the message. I know neighboring school districts, at least one neighboring school district that has had her in the past to deliver a similar presentation. And so I believe that was part of the process, and there was a connection in terms of our library media specialists. The author visit last year did go over swimmingly, so I think that we were hoping to be able to replicate the experience through just a different author and in a different text.
I actually do not have an issue with paying for someone like Gordon coming in, who has sold many children's books and the graphic novels, and for kids of all ages that enjoy that. I have a real problem when we're bringing someone in. Please don't take this the wrong way. I don't care if they have a connection or not with someone in our district. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't want this to be the new trend. Is we're bringing people in who wrote one book and who look like they're more of an activist than an author. And again, people can say, oh, you shouldn't judge people by what they post and this and that. Well, guess what? People don't get hired because of things that they post. People lose jobs over things that they post. I'm sorry to tell you, but if I posted what this woman posted, I wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't have a job.
All right, so let me speak to vetting, because we've had a couple of conversations, and as superintendent of schools, I have to take ownership of that. So we're going to have to go back and revisit how we're vetting, because we do perform social media searches, but we're not finding the same things that. This is now twice in a couple of meetings, and that's, for me, that's not acceptable, and I'll own that. So we're going to have to sit down, maybe our IT people can help us and say, when we're vetting, and when I say we're vetting, when there's free speech in America, and people could say, I voted for this one, I voted for that one, that's superficial. We don't care about that. We care about anything that could be potential hate, and so that's concerning. And so we will, and I understand the economic piece. I believe this author was half the amount of last year's author, so that is important. Free is great, and we try to be, low. In a few weeks we may have, like a bully prevention thing that might be like $600, $700. So we are very mindful of cost. But I'm especially, I want us to up our ante. I'll take ownership of that, about the vetting process, so we're able to see what everybody else is seeing, because when we're doing some of these searches, we're not seeing this, and so
Well, my recommendation is maybe you guys want to have Jackie help you, because Jackie DiLorenzo is the most amazing person I've ever seen in technology on a computer. Thank God for her, because I have no tech skills. At least I'm honest.
But we might tap into Ms. DiLorenzo as well. So what I like to recommend is if we could table. What item number is this? 11. but if you want to have your vote.
Well, I mean, table it to vote on her next time? Because
well,
I'm ready to vote on her now.
I'm a giant no, so
Well,
I
I didn't
can't wait.
have, when we did our vetting, we didn't see 8. So, but if the board wants to vote,
I think we're just gonna vote. Miss Iannatelli?
No.
I'm a no because of the money and the fact that she's more of an actress to me than an author, but that's me. Miss Napolitano for no?
I'm a no because I'm never, ever going to say yes to someone who's an activist who outrightly anti-police, anti-everything, and is putting BLM all over their face and everything else. Absolutely not.
Ms. DiLorenzo?
I'm a no for the reasons that were just stated by the other trustees. Absolutely not.
Ms. Torregrossa?
I'm a no, 'cause she wrote one book. Can the stuff that you guys found be shared? Because I looked myself and like her Instagram is definitely heavy on the acting stuff. And like I was going and I didn't see it. So I just want to see it for my own knowledge. I just want to see.
I could even give you the dates of those posts. You can go look.
Yeah, because I looked her up too, and that's how I know she was on NCIS, because I didn't watch that, but.
They were mostly January 2021. I saw, so you got to go back. You got to go back a little bit. There was one from July 2024, but if you go back, like the one with, that was actually the one with everything on her face was from October 30th of 2020.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So it's not made.
All right, so the motion failed. Can I ask for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda item number 12?
Motion. Second.
Any questions? Any questions?
No.
Miss Iannatelli?
It's the new contract.
Yes. Yeah, it was added. If you're yes,
I'm
you're
a yes.
I'm a yes. Miss Napolitano?
I'm a no.
Miss DiLorenzo?
No.
Miss Torregrossa?
Yes.
Motion passes. Consent agenda, we just did consent agenda. Discussion items, Dr. Centimore.
Thank you. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season and that 2025 is off to a healthy and positive start for all. Yesterday, due to a water main break, Ronkonkoma Middle School had to close. There was no water in the school. I thank our parents, our staff, our students for their understanding, our facilities department who did everything they could to try to locate and complete the repair so that we could try to have a partial instructional day. That's why we started with a traditional delayed opening and then an extended delayed opening. We tried to pull off some instructional time for our students, but we weren't able to. But it was a great effort by our facilities department. I want to thank the building administration for their collaboration with me on the timely communications that went out to the community. I want to thank the administration around the district for their assistance, especially with accommodating our Rock Middle School staff who ended up reporting to the high school. The repairs were completed, and the school had a regular instructional day today. And I think even the cosmetic piece of fixing the sidewalk pavement, was completed today as well. Really tremendous effort, and just thank you. And it was unfortunate that we lost the day. Nobody's fault. The pipe was about a 60-year-old pipe or so. That developed a crack, and we were hoping we could find it early and then fix it, but it was we had to do too much digging and locating, and we just didn't have quite enough time. But thank you to our whole community for your understanding. I want to thank all our staff and students in our music program, as the holiday concerts were absolutely fabulous. There were also a lot of holiday themed celebrations and events throughout the district, so thank you for all that. Speaking of our band, our pep band has been in action at our basketball games. It's beautiful to see in this district how well our athletic and our music programs work with one another, and the respect our student musicians, student athletes. Some of them are both. We have students that are both athletes and musicians. Just to see that it really warms my heart. So kudos. Thank you to the high school and especially to our guidance department for a very well attended and successful incoming 9th grade curriculum fair last week. Sycamore also recently had a really neat McTeacher night at the local McDonald's. I had a chance today, speaking of STEM, we were talking about STEM earlier. I had a chance today, myself and Ms. Poppy, to go over to OBMS where the RMS Lego Robotics team was working with the OBMS Lego Robotics team. Very cool to see them in action. They're getting ready for a competition that's coming up later in January. We wish them good luck. Speaking of STEM, tomorrow, I believe it's the Cradle of Aviation is going to be at MacArthur Airport. We have our science director, some science teachers. I'm going to stop by for a little bit. They're doing a STEM workshop over at MacArthur Airport, so we're looking forward to that tomorrow. It's musical season in the district, starting with Ronkonkoma Middle School. Thursday night is the opening of Footloose. Really can't wait, very excited. So that'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday evening at 7 p.m. Soon after, OBMS will have Alice in Wonderland. Soon after, the high school will have Legally Blonde. If you've never seen our student actors performing at all levels, middle school and high school, absolutely tremendous performances. We have the most talented kids, great directors. Please come out and support our musical program starting Thursday with Footloose with Ronkonkoma. The high school has coming up the FAFSA college loan application meeting on the 21st. That same week, the high school has their Regents exams and midterms. And then soon after the FAFSA meeting on January 27th, the high school has their local scholarship informational meeting. We encourage parents to attend. Looking forward as we project down the line to later in February, the end of February, for the second year in a row, our PTA is having a district-wide Harlem Wizards event. Last year it was a packed gymnasium at the high school. Tremendous amount of staff participating in the game, anticipating the same this year. I'm participating again as well. I already started stretching, so hopefully by then I'm nice and loose. So thank you as always to our PTA and of course all of our community organizations, SEPTA, Orba, Civics, and Rotary, for all that you do for our students, staff, and community. We've been receiving some, speaking of community, some feedback over the last few days regarding our food service program. Some of this feedback is coming through social media, and I know we have an upcoming food service committee meeting. Bob, can you just quickly speak to that?
Sure. So Monday, January 27th, the time is tentative right now for 6 p.m. We'll have a food service and nutrition committee meeting. I'll add a virtual feature to that as well, although it will be in person.
Right, and then so that'll be communicated, especially to the prior members, that we have their email addresses, and we'll.
What was the date?
Monday, January 27th.
Thank you. Ms. Cinderella, can you just add that to my calendar? Thanks.
Some of the feedback that you've gotten, Bob, on food service, so that can be incorporated into that meeting agenda.
Mrs. Mallon, that's the committee that you're going to discuss in board discussions.
No, it's a different committee. The wellness, it's a different committee than the food service committee.
Yeah. And we
So
have
Jackie, Ms. DiLorenzo and I sit on the food service and nutrition committee now. So if you could just add that to our calendars, please. The 27th at a tentative 6 p.m., right? Oh. Dr. Centimore, are you?
And also, we had told the public at, I believe it was the last meeting, that we'd give a quick update on grants. So I'm going to just ask Ms. Poppy if you can just give us a quick update.
I'd be happy to. So we did have some communication from our grant writer, and she is actively pursuing grant opportunities for the district. She writes that she joined an organization called grantwatch.com, which is the leading source of grant opportunity listings, and it identifies eligibility criteria for each advertised grant to help narrow her search. She did note that many grant cycles, especially those from private corporations that she's looked into, run with the calendar year, and new cycles frequently begin in February and March. So more news to come from there. She's reached out to some organizations that she's had some success with in the past, and reports that she's requested current grant info from the Department of Homeland Security, from the Phillips Foundation, from AT&T and Verizon. And in addition, we've forwarded some opportunities her way to look into from our perspective. In addition, she's looked at the New York State Education Department for grant opportunities that would be beneficial for the district. She has inquired with me directly about a specific grant program related to library participation. It's called the Dolly Parton Imagination Grant. And so we kind of looked at that together to see whether the district would qualify and be interested in a future opportunity with that particular grant. She is going to continually and actively monitor grant opportunities as they become available, and she'll be in contact with Mr. Kolahifar and me regarding any upcoming opportunities. So it's been sort of a two-way street. We've provided information to her in terms of to assist in her research and to let us know whether she thinks particular opportunities would be beneficial for us and whether we would qualify for them. And she's kind of brought some ideas our way. Certainly this spring, we're looking for more opportunities as those grant cycles open. And that's sort of where we are at this point in time.
And we also applied for a Canon grant.
We did. So this is kind of separate and apart from our grant writer. Last month, it was the beginning of December, Dr. Sanamore and I attended a conference at Canon's headquarters in Melville. And part of that event and that experience was the opportunity to apply for technology-related grants for the district. And so we did complete that paperwork and submitted that particular grant opportunity as well. We were able to earmark some ideas about how we could potentially use funding from Canon that aligns with their, I'll say, their stock and their sort of availability toward the district. So we're waiting to hear from them.
That's great that Canon did that and opened it up. Maybe it's possible that Ms. Rapone can reach out to them for some, student internships, just because of the fact that they are on the island, it's a huge facility, as you know. Maybe they're willing to partner with us, on that.
Absolutely. I'll send some contact information her way through Mr. Cassine.
Thank you, Rowan.
Thank you. Now we have the Board of Ed committee reports. So I believe it's Ms. Pisani, correct? She has created a new committee, the Wellness and Nutrition Committee. We currently do not have any Board of Ed members sitting on it. She is looking for some participation. If anybody would like to volunteer.
I would like to volunteer. I told her that when I went in Melissa's place for one of the mental health. It was the mental health. No, but last month. I went last month because I got the book. It was mental health, right?
Is there any dates or times
I went to the mental health one.
available?
You couldn't make it last
We don't
month.
know yet.
And I jumped in that day. She told me about it. I'd like to do it. If someone else wants to do it too, or if someone else wants me to be, I'm just saying if I have the time, if anybody else wants.
No, I was asking about the dates and time.
Can you find that, the dates and times?
Tuesday, the 21st, Tuesday, March 18th, Tuesday, May 20th, 10 to 11 at John Pearl.
10 to 11, all of them?
Yeah.
If no one else wants it, I'll try to do it also, but I can't guarantee I can make that. The 10 o'clock time's not, ideal for me.
So Ms. Napolitano-Ferno, Ms. Sinatelli?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. Thank you.
I can make it work.
Anti-bullying task force, Ms. Terragrosa or Ms. Napolitano-Ferno? It was on December 4th.
We were discussing all the different ways that they were, different schools were doing a great job, especially RMS with their using the social media platform. Yeah, they're doing an incredible job. We didn't really have too much but they were talking about going forward, adding to the website. We'll probably have more after tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a meeting and there'll be more to discuss at the next board meeting, but they're doing a great job.
Thank you. The Developmental Disabilities Committee, Ms. Napolitano-Furno or Ms. Iannicelli?
That one I am so excited about. Oh, go ahead, April. I don't.
It's okay. I only had a few notes that I just wanted to speak about the Chinese auction and fundraiser they'll be doing on May 16th during the Unified Basketball game. We are looking for any donations. If you'd like to donate gift cards, anything for a basket, an entire basket, the committee is looking for that so that they can raise money for the different things throughout the community for special needs. So that's really the only thing, and you can add on if you want to talk about the t-shirt contest and that.
Yeah, I'm very excited. This is one of my absolute favorite committees. I love what they're doing. I love that it came about. For years, we've been looking for a special education committee. This is an excellent committee. What they're doing is incredible. They're getting shirts made. They're using the slogan, "Yes, I Can," which really is great for all students across our district, but to say, yes, I can do it. It's amazing. I'm so excited. We ended up during freshman awareness, one of the speakers kindly donated who has a disability. He donated his book. And he actually even wrote in it, he signed them so 2 of them will be raffled off, take the dis out of disability and make it ability. Was really an incredible speaker too. He also did a short video for us, which we were going to be able to use. So thank you again to the 2 teachers who run Freshman Awareness. They did a great job helping us with the Developmental Disabilities Committee by getting those things donated so that we can also raffle those off. They are also, like you said, going to have the raffles. So please come down if you can, or if you can't make it to Unified Basketball is incredible. We have Unified Bowling also. I'm looking forward to going there this year as well. If anyone has the time, I tell you, it is the greatest thing to watch. Students helping students, peers helping peers, and it's just an incredible day. So if you can get out to see our Unified Basketball team, Unified Bowling, please do. They do a great job. They love seeing the stands filled, and I guarantee you, I will tell you right now, it will bring tears to your eyes to see all these kids playing together.
The Mental Health Advisory Committee, I believe Ms. DiLorenzo and I believe Ms. Napolitano-Furno, you went to the last one, right?
No.
Oh, you did? Mr. Grosso.
We talked about the January easel theme, which was acceptance. What I had written a lot of notes on, because I don't know if this is available, there's a lot of upcoming events that we got like flyers for. So this Thursday, 6:30 to 7:30. It's actually at Sable Middle School, and it's facilitated by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which it's a workshop called More Than Sad, Suicide Prevention for Parents, to help recognize signs of depression and other mental health concerns, learn how to initiate a conversation with your child about the concerns and how to get help. And they're also going to have a resource table there. Thursday, it's kind of like a meld between, I think, the Drug and Alcohol Task Force and mental health, but we do have Thursday 1:30 at free Narcan training hosted by the Suffolk County Police again in 3 sessions at John Pearl from either 2:45 to 3:30, 3:45 to 4:30, or 4:45 to 5:30. You learn how to use Narcan. There's resources again, signs and symptoms of an overdose, and you get a free kit. And then the other one was on Thursday, 2/6 from 6:30 to 8:30 at Brookhaven Town Hall. There is a workshop being presented in partnership with the Suffolk County Police Department and Long Island Against Domestic Violence called The Red Flags of Dating. And it'll actually have 2 simultaneous workshops going on at the same time, one for parents and then one for the kids. That'll teach about healthy and unhealthy relationships and the different services available and how to like speak with your kids about those types of things. So I brought the flyers, I can give them to Christina if we want to get that information, but there's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, that absolutely, definitely. And one of the other things that we did also discuss was trafficking, and there's a whole, I can't remember where it was from, I don't have the flyer in front of me, but like a bunch of webinars that, for us to attend, for even the committee to attend. And I did want to bring up from that, and I want to say this was a few years ago, before I was on the board, we had a victim speak, and I was in the audience. It was terrifying, but it's scary to think what they go through, and God bless that she was able to get up there. I think she's with ECLI Vibes, and it was really, really impactful, I thought, and I would really like to possibly consider having that again. Suffolk County, which I've learned through the Bohemia Civics, it's so high for trafficking. It's really, really scary. And I think if we can possibly have them come speak again to put out there what you see, and it literally anybody, it can happen to anyone. Anybody, there's no set, it's only kids that are like this, or it's literally anybody. It can be your own kid. I think it would be really important if we could possibly consider having them come speak at a board meeting, have a presentation on that, just to get it out there. I mean, we could have all sorts of workshops and things through the committee, but not a lot of people go. But, this is recorded. This is something, if people don't come to the meeting, they can at least go back and watch it and watch the presentation. Again, the girl was incredible, and I give her a lot of credit for stepping up and doing this to try to help people.
I think that's a great idea. I would love that. Ms. Taragosa, if you could share that information on More Than Sad and the red flags of dating, that'd be great. Thank you. You had something else?
Yeah, I forgot. Because it was a month ago. Dr. C, myself, and Mrs. Pisani, along with a teacher, and it was a couple of people, it was 4 of us, right? So 4 of us volunteered to go to Comac School District. They had Suffolk County there with, it was a different unit. It was the DA's office.
And also an advocate.
And also, an advocate who lost his brother to drugs and hate crimes. So I have to tell you that the hate crime unit did an incredible job teaching these kids in the high school. You could hear a pin drop. We were talking about bringing that in because a lot of people talk about bullying. A lot of people talk about, what goes on and hate, but they don't really understand the whole hate crimes and how it's happening in schools. It's really very scary what you see and what you hear. And the DA's office did an incredible job putting slides together. And then the advocate who came, like I said, his brother had been killed. He was incredible speaker, and we went up to him afterwards and thanked him for sharing his story with us. I would really love to see that brought into Connecticut. Comac did an incredible job, and again, it was very, very powerful of a presentation. Thank you for allowing me to go. And again, I forgot to bring that up, but that was part of our bullying, and I think that was part of the other committee. I'm trying to think what the other committee was with that. With Mrs. Pisani, it was bullying, and I thought it was.
Yeah, I think it was, with a lot of our committees, their themes spiral, which is a credit, whether it's anti-bullying, which ties into mental health. We also have an incredible anti-drug alcohol task force at the high school.
That's what it is. I'm in both.
Everything spirals in and overlaps, which is a good thing.
Thank you. The Technology Website Committee, Mr. Rosa?
This is my moment tonight. So we met and talked about, so Syntax is no longer going to be offering our web hosting soon, which is kind of an opportunity. We're talking about seizing to make some changes to our website. So what we did was we gathered in groups of about 5 to 6 people. It was a mix of actually community members, staff, And we kind of all gave our ideas of what some of the current website pain points were. And then we just kind of discussed them as a group. Most common were feeling like the messaging getting out was delayed. It's not immediately posted on the website because it has to filter through syntax first, as it is now, before it gets posted. There was a little bit too many layers when you go to each site. So if you want to get to something to go to the subsite, you have to go to the subsite and then a third one to get there. And that it's really the calendar not being especially compatible with a mobile device. So our website doesn't really change when you go on it from a phone versus a computer. And one of the final things was a little bit of the consistency between each school's page. So if I am looking at an elementary school versus middle versus high school, they don't lay out the same because it's unique to each school, but it would be helpful if they did for parents, especially in the kids when they're transitioning schools. That's probably the most often people go straight to the website to find out more about the building, and then it's not the same as the school they're just coming from. So we are considering Smart Sites, which is powered by Parent Square, actually. So it has web and mobile adaptions. It has the ability to push posts out and urgent alerts through a bunch of different channels at the same time. So different websites, social media, emails, apps, SMS voice. This was literally just the first stage of just looking at it. But if anybody at home was interested in what one of their websites looked like, there's a few local districts that are already using them. So North Babylon, Wyandanch, Lindenhurst, and Bridgehampton all already utilize Smart Sites for theirs. They're very clean, pretty aesthetically pleasing websites. And they actually, all four of those, I think, had different base layouts that they used. So just to look into, but this was just phase one of the discussion of it.
Thank you. Good stuff coming up. All right, Board of Ed topics. We have board goals, Ms. Napolitano-Ferno.
Well, before I go into them, are we going to find a date where we're going to actually do one transparently, or are we not? Because if we're not going to do one, then I'll sit here and I'll read through all my notes so that I actually am transparent with what I want to give to Dr. Centimore. If you guys are going to plan a board goals meeting, which we should have already had, then I'm all for it. I've asked you on numerous emails. The first one was not transparent. There was an apology. We appreciated it. But now, what are we doing to move forward to have a board goals meeting?
So I have said that I wanted to have a board goals meeting. In December, I was reading the room. There was no way the five of us were going to get together and have a board goals meeting. So then the holidays came, and yeah, I would be all for setting a board goal meeting.
Yeah, I just want to point out that we did actually, in December, say we could do it in January. You were against it. So we didn't set the dates because of the fact that you said you were doing it in the...
Did you get my email? I requested it how many times now?
And we've answered. Jax, if you remember, it was your fault.
No, April, we're not going to play blame because I also
try to get
didn't allow live streaming. You set it up as a retreat. Let's not go back in time. Marisol actually apologized, which I appreciated. You, on the other hand, are not transparent in any way, shape, or form. So own what you do. Own what you do and have a board meeting. You'll make board meetings for other special things when you want to do things, especially since I can't make them all. I didn't make one that you guys made a decision at, not for nothing, but you could have made a board goals meeting. Where is it? You decided that you were going to be the voice of the board. And
so we do have five busy board members up here, and the holidays were busy, and with the dynamic that we had going on, the timing just wasn't right. So yeah, I will have the district clerk poll the board and get a meeting for board goals.
Thank you. Lack of transparency. Oh, you want me to?
No, it's fine.
Lack of transparency and leadership. So Title IX. We had said that we wanted it tabled. We wanted, Jackie DiLorenzo and myself wanted to wait. We wanted to wait on the verbiage. We wanted to wait. We said things are going to change. We said to this board that this isn't something that we should go into. We should start looking at things from a different lens. We don't know what's going to happen after January, and here we are. Breaking news. The House has passed the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act of 2025, 218 to 206. The bill bans schools from allowing biological males from competing in women's sports. How is this going to affect the verbiage that you guys put into some of the policies? You can go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that because.
I'm sorry, no yelling from the audience,
We had
please.
discussed this and I did have concerns. I had legitimate concerns knowing that things would be changing in January and there was no timeline for this. There was no deadline to adopt it. I wanted to wait. I wanted to see what would happen. And now it seems as though the federal court struck it down. And now things are changing. So we have certain policies. I believe it was policy 0100, 0110, 0110.2, 0111, and 0115 that were all voted on, incorporating the new Title IX procedure. So I would like to, and I know this can be discussed in a policy committee, but I want to bring those policies back. Actually, April, you had actually said at that particular meeting in November that if something changed in January, we revisit it. So here we are. I'd like to revisit this and rework these policies to go back to the prior August so that we are in line with it. I wish we would have waited. This is what I wanted to do. This is now double the work again. But nevertheless, we are here now, so I would like to see if we can move forward with revisiting those policies to reflect the changes.
Yeah, I just have one quick, Deb, you're going to speak?
Yeah, so just very briefly, the Title IX regs were thrown out by a federal court judge very recently. So putting aside whether you want to or not, you have to come back to committee and look at those regs. Dr. Sedamore had a phone call with our office today about it. So we'll be discussing the changes that need to take place with him and then in turn with the board and the policy committee.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And hence why I always say we should wait. Just saying, guys, experience.
Or anything. I just want to be clear about something. I believe that the bill passed Senate still has to go, or passed House still has to go to, like, it's not fully passed through yet. I believe it has to go to Senate. I understand where the majority lies, but I don't want to say it's fully, like, I don't want to present it as something. It passed House. It passed like one. It's still got to go one more spot.
It passed the federal courts make the decision.
I'm talking about the bill, the specific bill that was referenced, the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. I believe it. I'm just saying.
So I'm just saying, you do know that this is going to go by. This is going to go past, and what I had said.
Get joy causing other people to feel
joy. I'm not joy that
literally just talking about the way
enjoy that
we present the information.
Shatter ceilings again.
Okay, we're gonna just let one person at a time speak.
I'm thrilled that women in sports can be safe. I'm sorry that you don't feel the same way. I don't want to see any of our young ladies lose the opportunity to shatter glass ceilings. I don't want them hitting cement ceilings like you do. And that's okay. You keep doing it.
Okay, can we just focus on
those of us that have daughters understand that we don't want to see our daughters
stop referencing whether or not I have children or my family.
I think it matters if you have a child.
It doesn't.
If you have a daughter, you would never want to see a daughter. You would never want to see your daughter hit a cement ceiling. You'd never want to see your daughter in a boxing match against a biological male. Sorry, that's not what I want to see.
I don't need children to feel that I wouldn't want anybody's daughter to be in a match against a man in a boxing match. We are all
it's not to speak.
You said I'll get joy.
Miss, no, it's not fair. Please let Joy finish.
I was talking.
Yes. So I can speak for the previous.
I'm so excited. This month.
Oh my gosh.
This month. I can't.
Let's have the previous person finish speaking. And we are all up here representing all children, whether we have all males or all females or no children. We are representing all children. So
I'm entitled to speak as a mother. Because guess what? I am one. I'm a mother of a daughter, and I have every right to reference that I'm a mother. The way that April referenced earlier, that her children, for whatever she was saying about her kids when it came to academics, we're entitled to reference that. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying you're not entitled. You can see that.
That's okay. They don't have to get annoyed by it. It's not a dig to say you don't have a daughter yet. You don't. So what are you going to get mad at me because I'm referencing that I do? Come on, you guys have to stop.
I think part of the issue is we made this person.
Can I just finish my first thought that I had to wait?
And then I will,
please
and then
finish.
after that, and then I will chime in.
All I was looking to say was that I just did not want to misrepresent where that bill was at in the process. I did not say how I felt about it in either direction, first of all. And I have said so many times, I do not want any child to be unsafe, period, point blank. Also, secondarily to that, anybody up here can absolutely reference their children. It does not give them the right to reference whether or not I have them. And that is my point. It's everyone's right to talk about their kids, their whatever. It is, I am saying, I would like for those comments to stop.
Okay, and I'd like you to understand that the truth is an absolute defense. And I'm sorry, the truth is the truth. Whether you like it or not, that's the truth. And I'm entitled to say that some of our board members don't have children, so they are looking at it from a different lens. You don't have to like that I said that, but it's a fact. It's a fact, and I'm entitled to speak facts. If that hurts your feelings, I'm not here to be the feelings police. I'm here to be a board member and to educate the community that we now have more protections for our girls. And you know what? That is something that people should rejoice in. I want all children to have equal rights. I want all children to be able to play sports, but I also want I was the first one, Marisol was here for it, when I said we should have a separate, that you can have a boys sports, a girls sports, and you can have anything you want to call it, however you want to phrase it to sound, where it's boys and girls, it's unisex, it's whatever you want to call it. But you're not going to tell me that I shouldn't rejoice that girls' sports is now going to be protected again. Because yes, I do not want to see our girls lose scholarships. I'm looking at colleges right now. I know how expensive it is. I know that there are children in this district that sports is their ticket to get to some of these colleges financially. And I am glad for them that they have some safety net, that they can work hard and achieve that. A biological male has a lot more upper body strength and a lot of different, and not just that, but a lot of different chemistry and hormones. We can't pretend that in sports it's not different. It is.
Melissa wasn't speaking about that. I have to point this out. What she was saying is that she just like you don't like people talking about your children, she didn't want you talking about her saying she didn't. It's the same premise. So
April, you mean like you talked about my children in executive?
Never.
You said that you heard a rumor? Yeah, you did.
Oh my gosh, that's speaking about your child?
No, but I think as an adult, you shouldn't be talking about anybody's children, but me saying that someone doesn't have children shouldn't be a whole conversation. You guys are acting sensitive and ridiculous.
Though, of something that
No, I think you guys are just looking for a reason to come after a board member because you haven't succeeded yet. You haven't succeeded in removing me. Good luck, though. You're doing a good job.
So moving on to freshman awareness, and I said, go ahead, Mr.
I just want to
Lorenzo.
bring the focus back because I know we lost a little focus here with that discussion. It is not a matter of just simply, as Melissa stated, just having joy of getting away. This is not a personal thing, so I want to clarify that. I wanted to bring this up because we did vote on policies. I want the community to be clear. We voted on policies. I felt it was a little too hasty. We need to revisit it, and I wish we didn't have to spend extra time on this doing double the work. So I want to clarify that that's not it. This is personally, I 100% agree with you on the girls' sport, but I'm not going to get into that because this is not about my personal opinion. I just want to do what's right as per the law, since it was struck down federally, and as far as I can see, 26 states sued, and this will affect all of us. So I want to stick to business. We'll revisit those policies. Thank you for bringing that up, and I look forward to discussing this and fixing that.
RMS tree lighting.
I went to the RMS tree lighting. It was beautiful. Thank you so much for inviting us. I had a great time seeing the kids play their instruments. They were giving out hot chocolate. It's always nice to revisit one of the schools, especially for me, a school that is so near and dear to my heart. I went there as a student and my children went there as a student. I try to get to all of the buildings, but that one that night did a really incredible job, and I just wanted to give them a shout out. Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Thank you, Mr. Licato. Thank you to all the teachers that did such a great job in getting that together. Thank you to the PTA who goes above and beyond for our students. And thank you really to the students who ultimately did such a beautiful job that night.
Cherokee fifth grade tree lighting performance.
So last minute, I got a phone call from one of the parents telling me I had to make it over to the Rainier Park. I ran over there to see, and I just made it to see the Cherokee fifth graders doing a tree lighting performance. They were adorable. They did a great job. Thank you so much for letting me know. It was a beautiful performance. Thank you to the teacher who was there. She really made it spectacular for the kids. And again, I love all of these holiday celebrations. The concerts were beautiful. It's always nice to see our kids performing and doing such a great job at it. And thank you to all the staff that helps get them where they are to do all the things that they love.
I wanted to just piggyback off of that with the performances, because I know it's been a while, of course, since we've had a meeting. Performances, of course, the concerts were amazing. One of the things that I saw that that OBMS is doing that I thought was really wonderful, I got an email that they want to, I don't know, I can't remember what it's called, and forgive me, I am very tired at this point, but a closet for children, it's been a long day, a closet that they have for donated concert attire for children that maybe can't afford it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely wonderful because, you know, you don't always wear the black pants, the white shirt, so when your child goes out of it, they have something.
And every size shoe you could think of.
I have brand new shirts still in the packaging for boys I can donate. So I'll drop off.
Just because I think it's a wonderful thing maybe to have, you know, maybe RMS could do it as well, so that there's somebody on the north side while there's a school on the south side. I think it's absolutely wonderful. I don't know who thought of it, but I thought it was a fantastic idea.
Yeah, well, we'll check with Mr. Malfronte and see, you know, a little bit more detail on OBMS and if any other school has something similar.
Thank you.
That's great. Regionalization update, Ms. Napolitano-Furno.
So I'm so happy to be able to read this to you, the press release that we received. 21 school districts on Long Island, elected officials, and thousands of concerned citizens filed suit against the New York State Education Department's regionalization mandate. On January 9th of 2025, 21 school districts, 8 New York State legislators, 2 municipalities, a local teachers union, a nonprofit with 1,900 members, a mayor, and 3 individuals have commenced litigation to annul New York State Education Department's final regionalization rule, which went effective on Christmas Eve. By the rule, New York State Education Department has mandated the regionalization of school districts across the state, usurping the statutorily prescribed local control of elected school boards to the unelected commissioner. The rule will not only transform the public school system, but will impact the fabric of local communities. To suppress public outcry, New York State Education Department has misrepresented that the rule is optional, but the plain text of the final rule states, school districts and supervisory districts shall begin the implementation of approved regionalization plans no later than the start of the 2026-2027 school year. This is a mandate. To avoid litigation, the petitioners asked New York State Education Department to withdraw the rule or modify the mandatory text to be consistent with New York State Education Department's public representations that the rule is optional. New York State Education Department refused, stating it is not interested in any settlement of this issue. This position demonstrates that New York State Education Department refuses to relinquish its newfound power. The mandate controls. The petitioners were left with no choice but to sue to annul and/or modify the rule.
Thank you. Freshman awareness and NYSED.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me go into my notes here. All right. I am formally raising a concern regarding a potential violation of New York State open meetings law by 3 trustees of Connecticut Central School District Board of Education. It has come to my attention that these 3 trustees conveyed and engaged in discussions with building administration without the knowledge or participation of the other 2 trustees, thereby constituting an unlawful quorum. As you are aware, Section 103 of the New York State Open Meetings Law requires that any meeting of a quorum of a public body, including boards of education, be conducted openly and with proper public notice. Under Section 102(1) of the Open Meetings Law, a meeting is defined as the official conveying of a public body for the purpose of conducting public business, and Section 41 of the General Construction Law establishes that a majority of a public body constitutes a quorum. In this case, with a 5-member board, any gatherings of 3 members to discuss school district business qualifies as a meeting that must be conducted in compliance with open meetings law. The alleged meeting involving the 3 trustees described above violates these provisions because it was conducted without notice to the public, without public access, and without informing the remaining trustees who were also in attendance at freshman awareness. Such actions undermine the transparency and the foundational principles of accountability required of public officials. I respectfully request that this board investigate the matter the same way they investigate all other matters and take appropriate corrective actions to ensure compliance with open meetings law by the Connecticut Central School District Board of Education. Transparency and adherence to statutory requirements are essential to maintaining the integrity of our public institutions and ensuring public trust. We have also received emails and they have not been answered. We answer all other emails for these kind of situations, or the superintendent answers. Somebody should have answered the email of a prior board member. Somebody should have already started an investigation on this, considering it's been brought up numerous times. We already know that the 3 of you weren't in office with 4 administrators because I witnessed it. But again, we can pretend that didn't happen, but you want to investigate other things. Stop the corruption, please, and just do the right thing and investigate all situations the same way. Do things the same across the board, no matter who's involved.
Communication with parents in schools.
Parents have come to us and complained that there is some lack of communication this year, lack of transparency. I just wanted to speak up for them because unfortunately there's a lot of things going on and they shouldn't be finding things out on social media. They shouldn't be finding things out through other avenues. It would behoove us to make sure that we're working on getting the transparency and the communication out to all parents as fast as we can, that they should not feel like some schools get it first, some they don't. The other day, like I had asked, I know we use Parent Square, but are we sure that all parents are using Parent Square? Are we sure that everybody's already on it and it's working? I just think it would be good to make sure that we're getting everything out however we can and getting it out to everyone, especially if there are some that don't have the same technology skills that other people do have.
I believe in terms of Parent Square, we were at 99% parent participation. And I think one of the initial challenges with Parent Square is the settings where parents can delay when they get the messages, but we have the ability to override that delay. I'm using layman's terms here. And so one example was yesterday with the delayed opening and then the closing of Ronkonkoma Middle School. Myself, Superintendent, working with Ms. Licato, the principal, in collaboration with those communications. When he was then sending them out, he was, overriding that so people would get the message more frequently. We were also in very close communication with Syntax to align our messaging with social media, school district social media, and the website. The website committee is looking at how to streamline, kind of all these methods of communication and like smart sites and things like that Ms. Rosa referenced in her update. That's one of the charges, one of the focuses of this committee.
Thank you.
Concerns raised by a community member, Ms. Napolitano.
No, that was the same.
Same thing?
That was the same thing. It was the one.
All right, so athletic uniforms.
Athletic uniforms is, I had gotten some phone calls about that, and I had gotten some phone calls that there was some issues with if our unified bowling had the uniforms. I did see that you guys sent us a picture. Can we just make sure that all students for all athletics have the ability to play with the same uniform, to make sure that there is no student that has to feel uncomfortable because they don't have their size, they don't have their equipment. We do this for some sports. I want to see it for all sports.
Absolutely.
And the one thing I'll say is that sometimes, you could have a uniform that was ordered like a year or 2 years ago, and let's say the brand was Under Armour, and now you have to add. You all of a sudden you might end up with Nike, even though it looks the same, because maybe Under Armour for the subsequent year didn't continue. You know what I'm saying? And when you look to add sizes and things like that.
I just want to make sure that our unified teams have the ability to be wearing. I don't want to have an issue like last year, so I just want to make sure, since now they were questioning me about unified bowling, I want to make sure that those students get the same treatment as everybody else. They're coming out to play the sport. Let's get them the same uniforms. Let's let them have a great time. Let's let them enjoy themselves, and let's let them feel like a part of the team, because they are.
So we do have extra stock for bowling shirts, which again, like you said, our bowling team, our unified bowling team, they share. And the athletic department has also ordered additional sizing on top of this stock that we already have.
Thank you. I just wanted to piggyback off of yours with the curriculum fair last week. I had such positive feedback while at the fair from parents that had gone subsequent year, and how much more out of it they got this year. So if you could tell Miss Yoni Kohler, great job that she did. They love the interactive stations. They love that there were children volunteers, because science is fun, but you don't want to hear from the teacher. You want to hear from your peers. So they loved that aspect of it, and just seeing everything laid out. So job well done to Miss Yoni Kohler and everybody else involved in it.
Thank you. And amongst the directors as well as the high school administration, we've already started brainstorming in order to build upon this year's experience, looked at, what went well, what we could adjust even further to continue that trend of a rich experience for participants.
And of course, the staff being there was great. Also, that's not at all what I meant, but the kids like to hear from the kids,
Absolutely.
I went to so much in the last month with you. I can't even remember. It's like I attended the fair that you're talking about, and what I loved was that you guys moved. It was more spacious. I loved that the Italian and the foreign language was in the hallway. I liked that that you were able to walk down the hallway and see foreign languages. Then you were able to go into the lunchroom and you were able to see science. And it was nice. It was really nice how they did it, so that there wasn't so many people bunched up. Like last year when we went with our kids, because it was the year that our children had it. It was, as a parent, it was like, oh my God, we're all on top of each other. But now this year I went just as a board member, just to walk around and see all the kids and parents. And I have to say, it was awesome that they had it in the hallways too. I really liked that, because I think it made it so kids could go here, then they could go there, and they could go there. And there wasn't such a big group. I do think it was attended with more people last year, but I also think that was because of the weather.
We mentioned that, and we did make some efforts to certainly get the word out. And that design and that layout was certainly purposeful to avoid that crush in the cafeteria. So we'll continue doing that with some additional enhancements in years to come. So that was well received on the student and the adult side as well, on the other side of the table.
Mrs. Johnny Cola did an incredible job. The only thing that I'm going to say is, for going forward with the FAFSA, that's for, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, so I don't know, because this is the first year I'm doing one myself, I feel like it's late. Like, I don't know, I feel like I spoke to a lot of parents, and they've already done it. So while I love the idea of having that help, and I know that we have till, that you have more time, I'm just saying, I feel like kids that put in for college, let's say in August or September, they're already getting their acceptance letters, they're already getting their packages, and it sounds like, I just know from the people that I've spoken to, they've said that they're getting these in the mail saying, get your FAFSA in, and it's been going on for like over a month because they opened early this year. So I think that also made it difficult.
The calendar is a little challenging from Thanksgiving through the holidays. I just submitted for one of my kids the FAFSA. I mean, I just literally the other day hit submit on it. So, it's hard to fit it in. Like December was, we were out every night at something, and depending on where Thanksgiving falls. I understand your point. Most colleges, what is it, February, March 1? What is the deadline with most of these now?
I don't want to misspeak, so I do believe it's March, but I don't want to misspeak about a date.
I know it opened early this year, though, because I do know that they said that they got it up and running earlier. She had said that.
It's always tricky to schedule this night because you want to be ahead of the curve so that people have the opportunity to participate in an event like the upcoming event in a timely manner. But then you're working against the FAFSA's, their release of information. So I know that was part of the equation. And then in terms of scheduling, right, the assistance and that opportunity, that workshopping opportunity for our families, that's part of the equation too. So when is the availability there on the part? I believe we partner with Suffolk Community College in order to do that. So when is the availability there? So it's a little bit of an equation, but I do know that a parent square went out recently regarding the FAFSA. So at home, if you haven't seen that and you have or you have additional questions about that, please don't hesitate to contact the guidance department at CHS just for some clarification pieces.
I do have to say one last thing. Seniors reached out to me, a bunch of senior kids that I know, and they were asking me to bring this up, so I'm going to do it for them, even though it's like 10:30. They had asked me to advocate this year, and I know it can't change this year, but it seems like, and I told them that if we do an exit survey, they should put this on their exit survey. They were saying something like and I hope I don't get this wrong, the graduation, the prom is on the same day as the morning they have to have a graduation rehearsal, which they've said that this happens all the time. There's no way for us in the future to make it so that the kids don't have to have it on the same day. I mean, I feel sorry for the girls because I'm not trying to say girls, boys, but the girls I know like to go get their hair, their makeup done, and all this stuff. And I just feel like they're going to be, it's got to be trying. And so if there was any way that we could make it so that it's not the same day, if they could do it a day apart, is that even an ability? And I get it, I'm not asking for it this year, anyone saying but I did say to the kids I would advocate.
But I'm just going to say that in the past, and it's been like this for many, many years, and I was told it's purposeful. So, I'll let you get more information about it. But, just from my opinion, when you have kids up early that day, they're hoping that they're up, and then there's not as much, I guess, things that can happen at night because they're tired and they want to go home, and, graduation is the next day. But I, of course, will let you get more information on that.
I actually don't mind if it was early, but it's right smack in the middle of the day where most of the girls are getting their hair done. I know this has been a complaint from even the year my son graduated, from some of the females getting their hairs done. They're like, I don't know what time to schedule it because it's like right smack in the middle of the day.
Yeah, so I think this is a conversation that the senior class advisors and the building administration should have. Certainly, Ms. Poppy, if you could just share the sentiments that were expressed tonight, and then let them, I know it's not for this year, but,
something they could do for this year, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Because I feel sorry for all these kids that are saying, even if they made it earlier or if they did it the day before. I mean, I'm just, again, I have heard in the past, I remember the year you're talking about because my niece was with your son. They were complaining that year too. They've been complaining every year. It's everything is, yeah, but I feel like when kids start coming to us, I feel like it's the one time I really feel like you need to really advocate, because they're asking you, like, I know it's not the end of the world, but like for us as adults, but to them, this is like a really big deal, and it makes it stressful for them. Why are we going to stress them out? Because we think it's going to tire them out? I don't know. I've seen kids that go from 6 a.m. to the next day, 6 a.m., and they don't even sleep. So I don't know.
I will certainly follow up with the high school administration and see what the potential is moving forward.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything? Does anybody want to speak? Okay. I will now open the floor for the second open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a number card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. The use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. Any person wishing to speak, if there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend the time. Number 1.
Addressing HR 28, the bill that you've been referring to, is just a bill. It has not yet gone through the Senate. And again, I'm going to go back to some numbers that I spoke last time, that the organization, the anti-trans organization, Save Girls Sports, said in an investigative report that there were only 5 trans athletes on girls' sports in our nation. I read an article today that the NCAA says there's 510,000 athletes competing at that level, and there are 10 trans athletes, male and female, in that group. And it's my understanding that Connecticut High School has 0 trans athletes. So if I had the ear of my congressman, I would say, hey, we got wars. We've got fires. This is not, with these numbers, this is not a major issue. The second thing, and I would tell my school board, is that we have teachers that can't print anything because the printers aren't working. There's not enough scans because the literally have no scans to put through for the test. And the copy machines don't work. So the frustration level there is actually something you could dig into and handle and make life better. My second point is about hate speech. So I heard you disqualify this author because of what she has on Facebook pages, and felt it was hate, and she was an activist. But you could say that you really dislike her politics, which would be left politics. So I believe, to be fair, that we should examine the right-wing politics as well. The Southern Poverty Law Center has claimed certain Christian nationalist groups. We have the Loud Majority and Moms for Liberty on their hate list. So I suggest when we're hiring people that they should be neither left political activists or right political activists from the groups that I've mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there number 2? Can I call for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone.